Well, one of our Tolos would be really happy if he were the one doing all of the firing, Diesel, because it was a weekend of firing, and that has even continued within the last hour. A NFL head coach has been fired. That's right. Titans have parted way with Brian Callahan, but the weekend of firing began not with Dewey, but with Lonnie Teasley, the offensive line coach for South Carolina, being fired early yesterday morning. We also yesterday, Diesel, got the news that my beloved James Franklin had been fired. That happened yesterday as well. So the weekend of firings, who knows? It may continue. I didn't think it was going to continue into Monday afternoon, but it did with Brian Callahan. We've seen some firings, and we're going to talk about it. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. An absolute jam-packed show. We're going to talk Carolina Panthers and my Cowboys, I promise. Even though I begged Diesel not to. I mean, I send you $100?
Yeah, you gave me $100 and said, that's not enough, man. It doesn't cover a bill.
I mean, I need 200, whatever we have to do to not talk about it, but we're going to talk about it.
I'll avoid it for about $250.
That's right. Also, Hugh Freeze, Kirby Smart, Slimy Kirby, Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. We have Overreaction Monday at 5 o'clock. I'm going to fire somebody else in Overreaction Monday. A little audio for you, ranking the current available football jobs, a big show, and we want to hear from you at 844-326-3663.
Well, you mentioned Lonnie Teasley and you mentioned James Franklin, but they weren't the only two that lost their jobs this weekend, Cole. There's more.
Yeah,
There's more firings.
I also mentioned Brian Callahan.
Yeah, Trent Bray from Oregon State got fired.
That's right.
They fired Trent Dilfer down at UAB, and Bill Belichick staying around. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It was just one of those wild, wacky weekends where you have some firings. And Diesel, I don't know that you get it every single year, but throughout the course of a decade, I think you get this. I think you get this every few years, and just in terms of a random weekend in October, right? And I saw this tweet yesterday, Diesel, to kind of open up this conversation about the firings this weekend. And I thought this one tweet summed up things pretty well because, look, in August, you, Diesel, everybody else had expectations. But Chris Lowe tweeted this out yesterday, and I thought I wanted to bring it to the air. Imagine somebody telling you in August that Indiana might be the best team in the country, Florida State would beat Bama by 2 touchdowns, and then start 0-3 in ACC play. Mike Gundy would be fired 3 games into the season. Bobby Petrino would be coaching the Hogs again. And Texas, Penn State, and Clemson would all fall out of the polls at one point. Welcome to college football. And where do we start? We've got to start with James Franklin, right? We'll get to Lonnie Teasley because that is big news here locally. But Diesel, we've joked about it. I've kind of joked about it over the course of a year and a half, going on 2 years we've been doing this show together, about Penn State's inability to win the big games. And while we joked about it, that joke has now become reality.
Well, I defended James Franklin because of his ability to win all of the games that you're supposed to win. He had 35 wins over the last 3 seasons. But when you start losing to Northwestern, that's when anybody who defended you, they're out of excuses.
Yeah, you're done.
You're done. You're done. It's like, without pulling up his record off the top of my head, it was god awful.
He was
against top 10 teams.
He was 4-21.
Yeah, awful. And you can defend that by saying, okay, well, I mean, theoretically, in 25 games, he should have won 12.5 and lost 12.5, right? If he was somewhere in that range, if he had won 10 of those games, he's safe, right? There's enough good feeling of beating top 10 ranked Ohio States and Oregons of the world. But when you have such a negative opinion amongst your fan base and they hate you to that point, that's when everybody's just like gathering that cash together. You're just pulling a little bit from this IRA and you're pulling out of that savings account. You say, hey, guess what? You call up Penn State and they're like, hey, I got $500,000 to add to the pot. If you want to fire James Franklin today, I will add that money today.
Chris Arnett on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line says, I wish someone would fire me for $40 million plus. I could suck at my job royally. And we've joked about it. I mean, like it's so hard. And again, Gamecock fans will get to the news with Lonnie Teasley in a few minutes, Diesel, but it's so hard to feel bad for James Franklin. How do you feel bad for that guy? I mean, who said it best? Was it Ed Orgeron?
Coach O.
Which door do you want me to leave
Which door
from,
you want me to leave out of, brother?
I mean, he's right. Diesel for $40+ million.
Fire me twice for $40 million.
I'd be ecstatic to hear that I was fired,
because
right?
you know full well James Franklin's going to get another job like that, right? He's got a reputation for himself. He's going to get a big-time job. Maybe he goes and he's a coordinator on somebody's staff somewhere for like a year, and then bam, the next head coaching job at a major university is going to come open. I mean, theoretically here, Cole, would you just do the swap if you're Nebraska? Like, a lot of people are throwing Matt Rule's name out there for that Penn State job because Matt Rule is a Penn State alum. Are you telling me that Nebraska wouldn't love to have what Penn State has had under James Franklin?
No, they would.
You telling me they wouldn't use that springboard that Matt Rule has given them and say, hey, James, come on in. We're going to pay you just a little bit less than what you were making over at Penn State, but you're still going to get a Brinks truck to carry your paycheck home every single week. We're going to pay you a lot of money to come down here to Nebraska and give us what you gave Penn State. You lose a couple of power games against big-time opponents.
No big deal.
No big deal down here, but occasionally you're going to pop one, and we're going to feel just fine about that.
I just wonder if Nebraska would want – if James Franklin Diesel would want to go to Nebraska. Now, if it were the only option, maybe so. But it's funny.
He's been at Vanderbilt.
He has. It's funny you bring that up with a swap, though. I do believe, from things I've heard, Diesel, and to your point about Matt Rule being an alum, Matt Rule also very close with the athletic director at Penn State. I believe right now, today, that Matt Rule will be the next head coach at Penn State. Now, there are other names out there.
I feel for Dan B if that's the case. They just got themselves a quality head coach, and he has gone like that.
I've just heard a report, Diesel, and I don't know if there's any legs to it. I heard a report last night that basically the guy said, look, don't be surprised. And I don't know if they're going to drag it out to the end of the season or if they'll do it whenever, when the timing will be. But the guy said, basically, long story short, Diesel, don't be surprised if Penn State makes quick work of this once the season's over and it's Matt Rule's job. Again, there are other candidates out there. We'll talk about Kurt Signetti and the other guys that, Matt Campbell might be up there for that job. I don't know, but I think right now Matt Rule is the leader in the clubhouse. But it's hard to feel bad for that guy. Now, James Franklin, to your point, is a heck of a coach. He may take a year off. He may just say, hey, Ed Orgeron's done it. Jimbo Fisher's done. What's the point in coaching next year? Why don't you make sure you find the right fit?
The taste in a lot of football fans' mouth with James Franklin is really bitter right now.
Yeah, as it should be.
But give him a year out of the game. Put him on television for a year, right? He's good behind a mic. Put him on TV for a year. Find an elite Power 4 program that's not winning a year from now, whoever that may be. Maybe it's Florida State. Maybe it's Virginia Tech. Maybe it's whoever, right?
And now,
they need somebody, and they start thinking back and be like, you know what? Like, yeah, he wasn't particularly great in the big games, but he got him to the playoff.
I just wonder, Diesel, that Penn State Virginia Tech flavor, because you're right.
Some similarities.
And Brent Pry was James Franklin's defensive coordinator, right? So maybe Virginia Tech doesn't really want to go through the Penn State experiment again. I don't know. I'm not saying they wouldn't hire him. I think I'm right on that. But
you got the master who taught Brent Pry everything he knows.
True.
But Brent Pry couldn't execute it.
Oh, by the way, he was 4-21 against AP top 10. He was 1-10 against Ohio State, 3-7 versus Michigan, 2-21 versus top 5 teams. And his record versus top 25 teams, Diesel, was 15-31.
Here's how that works out, though. If he were to take the Virginia Tech job, good news in the ACC, you're not playing that many top 10 teams. So it really doesn't matter. And your record against top 10 teams is irrelevant in the ACC because they barely have any top 10 teams ever.
And you know what? The Big Ten's top heavy. So he was playing, like you brought up that record earlier, the amount of wins he had in the past 3 years or whatever. So he was playing a lot of gimmies, but he also, here's the stat that stands out to you. Diesel, he was 1-18 against top 10 Big Ten teams in conference games. Think about that.
Yeah.
In conference.
That's awful.
That is terrible.
Putrid.
1-18. So did James Franklin deserve to be canned? Was it bad? Was it awful timing with his quarterback? The news that, in case you missed it, Diesel, Drew Aller done for the season. Like, again, a couple of months ago, we were talking about Drew Aller and Penn State, right there in the top of the conversation for Heisman, national champions. We had that conversation. So now, what do you do if you're Penn State? The season's a wash. Drew Aller's done. You got this interim guy who basically their goal is just to get you to the end of the season without burning the stadium down, right? I think they also have stadium renovations coming up in the next year or so.
Yeah.
So
good. Fix that wonky-ass stadium. Beaver Field is weird. Why are the end zone sections gigantic and the sideline sections like an FCS team? What are we doing here?
It's going to be weird, man. It's going to be weird, but I just ultimately think they made the right decision. There are reports that Adidas had a lot to do with it. A lot of people probably forget that Penn State went from Nike to Adidas recently. I don't know if the Adidas.
Great choice, Penn State.
Yeah. I don't know if those are true, though.
This is weird, Cole. Are you watching the stream? Nobody's names are displaying as their names. Like, for example, JB is showing up at JB Brew 1976. And
I am seeing that.
It's a little weird. So Tolos, apologize if we read.
Why is it doing that, Diesel?
I don't know. We'll see if we can kind of dive into set. Maybe
it's showing their username
instead of username, not their display name, as they should be showing up as.
Should we
Most of them we can figure it out, like JB, T Swizzle, Dewey. That one's easy enough. At Cold Take Jim, you've been on the stream before. Appreciate you. A lot of guys talking about this James Franklin thing, and that's so. Forgive us if we try to have to decipher your username until we get that figured out.
So
it could be an internal quirk inside of StreamYard too.
What I'm doing is in real time, I literally in real time and asking ChatGPT why. And it says that happens in StreamYard when the viewer's display name on the link platform is not shared properly with StreamYard because of privacy permissions. Here's what's going on and how to fix it. Why you're seeing usernames like T Swizzle instead of real names. And even threw T Swizzle's name out there.
JB says must be a YouTube update or something. Maybe it's a privacy update thing with YouTube.
Could be.
That's interesting.
We'll work on it.
Are you using ChatGPT now basically as your default search engine?
Pretty much,
because everybody knows Google sucks now. Like you type something in on Google, there's 5 sponsors.
I still use Google
ads, and then you try to get an answer to a question and it won't answer it. It sends you a link and the answer is buried in an article. Google sucks now, doesn't it?
I use Google #1. I don't ask Google a lot of questions, but I do use Google #1, and then I would say I use ChatGPT #2. But I am still Google #1. Texter says Clemson offering Penn State their defensive coordinator back. Funny, but not happening.
I don't know. I don't know. I think Dabo needs to do everything he can do to hang on to Tom Allen.
Now let's transition over to the firing weekend that was Diesel that hits home a little bit more locally with South Carolina. We got the news yesterday during the Panthers-Cowboys game, I believe, or right before it kicked off, about Lonnie Teasley being dismissed as the offensive line coach for South Carolina. Obviously, we put it on our Facebook page at The Fan Upstate. There was a lot of reaction there. A lot of you Gamecock Tolos out there excited about it. I have my thoughts. Diesel does as well. Yesterday on his teleconference, Shane Beamer said these decisions aren't easy. He hurts for Teasley and his family. He looked at the overall body of work and felt the best decision was to make a change. Beamer says he called AD Jeremiah Donati at 4:18 a.m. to discuss moving on from Teasley. He met with Teasley Sunday morning to inform him of the decision. Right move, wrong move, Diesel?
Oh, it's absolutely the right move. This offensive line has been atrocious. Defenses are having to pay rent because they're in the backfield so long. It's awful. The offensive line for South Carolina has been awful, and we looked at that before the season started and pointed that as a big reason this team was going to struggle. You can't do anything if you can't block in the SEC. You cannot set up the run. You cannot run play action. You cannot run delays. You cannot move the ball to the outside. If you cannot block, you are going to struggle over the course of your regular season. And we had a texter here who said that Rob's take this morning was that Lenore Sellers should shut it down for the season and use his red shirt. Well, he can't red shirt now. It's too late. We're too deep into the season. Unless you're saying he should just shut it down and not play and burn the second half of his sophomore year.
I don't know.
What is he listed as now?
Stephen Webb says when you never have one possession inside of the 25-yard line, someone has to be fired. So
yeah,
I don't disagree with you, Diesel, on the sentiment of there needs to be accountability. Here's where I stand on yesterday's firing of Lonnie Teasley. First of all, I do hate it for him and his family. Like, he's making $400,000. While that's a lot of money, that's not James Franklin money, right? There's a huge difference in an offensive line coach being fired versus James Franklin being fired. $400,000 versus $40+ million buyout. Huge, huge difference. So I feel for him. Lonnie Teasley was a very nice guy. I think Lonnie Teasley, Diesel, was a really good recruiter. I talked to Lonnie back in the summer when he was at an event at Spartanburg High School, and I was there broadcasting live that day. And I think Lonnie Teasley is a great coach and a great recruiter and a great guy. Unfortunately, things just didn't work out. And that's kind of what Shane Beamer said Sunday in his teleconference. Ultimately, though, offensive line play has been horrible. Now, I will say, to defend Lonnie Teasley, Diesel, they have had injuries up there. They have been ravaged by injuries in 2025. And Lonnie Teasley can't necessarily be to blame for injuries. But to be fair, he has not gotten the most out of that offensive line group. I will say, I think change needed to happen. But if you watch that game Saturday night against LSU, as you did, we all did, that's not the only guy that needs to be fired. I'm sorry. I don't like calling Diesel for coaches to be fired, but I don't understand how you fire Lonnie Teasley, but you don't fire Mike Shula. Mike Shula, I'm sorry to be this guy, but Mike Shula's got to go. He's got to go. Mike Shula needs to be fired. I don't know if you do it midseason or after the season. Mike Shula's not the answer. We gave him way too much credit for this whole Cam Newton thing of him coaching Cam Newton and Charlotte. Come on. He's got to go. Play calling Saturday night. I know offensive line was bad, but play calling, Diesel, was so bad. You had opportunities and chances to win that ball game against LSU. I don't understand how Mike Shula has a job, but Lonnie Teasley don't. That's my only issue with it.
This is crazy, Cole. This was a stat that was put up, I think it was probably late in the third quarter. Maybe it was midway through the fourth quarter. I'm not really sure. But this said that through that point in the second half, South Carolina had three possessions with 16 plays in LSU territory, but only 3 points to show for it. How does that happen? How do you move it into enemy territory and cannot get points out of it? You see it all the time, and we say, like, teams are really good at moving the ball between the 20s. They get inside of that 20, they get into that red zone, that red area, which is weird. They're calling it the red area on TV now. I don't like that. But they get it there, and the field compresses, and they can't figure out what to do. They cannot figure out how to get guys in a compressed field area open. And I get it. It's tough, but that's when you have to be able to run the ball. And when you don't have an offensive line, you're going to struggle.
And again, I'm with you. I think Diesel, that's obviously their area of weakness, but I think multiple factors. I think multiple things go into not being able to score in the red zone. Is offensive line part of it? Of course it is. You said it a minute ago. Offensive line affects everything, right? Receivers, quarterback, everything. We know that. But guys, you just go back and watch that game. Lonnie Teasley, I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be fired, but Lonnie Teasley has zero to do with the horrendous play calls that I watch every weekend from Mike Shula. I'm telling you, man, like, I'm not saying Lonnie Teasley didn't deserve to be fired. It's not my job to make that call. But if I'm a Gamecock fan, while I'm excited that Beamer made a midseason change, I don't know if the right guy got fired. I just don't. I'm not trying to defend Lonnie. I don't know. I don't know near as much about this team as Shane Beamer does, and I'm not trying to act like I do. But
I think what they do at this point in the season is they fire one to try to shake the others out of complacency. Maybe you put in the back of Mike Shula's head that, like, hey, if I don't make a big time change, I'm gone too. and I don't want to be fired. I want to keep my job here in Columbia. I want to keep my wife happy, and I don't want to have to move my kids from high school. So maybe it's sacrifice one so that the others shape up, and it's a real tangible proof that there are consequences for doing a bad job.
Maybe you're right. And I will say, Diesel, I hope you're right, because I hope the wrong guy didn't get fired. I saw a lot of reaction on Twitter and Facebook over the weekend when this happened about Gamecock fans being excited that Lonnie Teasley was fired. And like I said a minute ago, I don't know the details of the situation. I'm not going to pretend like I do. I just, from the outside looking in, I hope and pray the right guy got fired, because is offensive line an issue? It is. But, man, you go back and watch. It is so obvious that play calling was so disastrous. Lonnie Teasley dealt with offensive line injury after injury after injury. Lenora Sellers, for as good as he is, Diesel, Saturday night, we all saw it. He holds on to the football way too long. He just does. He's got to learn how to let that thing rip. I think he cost the Gamecocks a couple of drives there late. It just – so many different factors went into why they didn't win Saturday, but ultimately Lonnie Teasley gets the blame.
Here's what I do like about this move is that Sean Elliott will step up and take over the offensive line coaching responsibilities. Sure. He's an offensive line, former offensive lineman himself. I've been a fan of teams that Sean Elliott has coached before. You've seen him on the sideline. He's awesome. Absolutely nuts. Awesome. He will headbutt guys in helmets. He has that kind of intensity. And I don't know, if Lonnie Teasley had that, I don't know him as well as you did personally. But Sean Elliott has an intensity about him that I'm excited to see this South Carolina Gamecock offensive line pick up. And this is not a guy who's 2 or 3 years into his coaching career, right? He was an O-line coach at App State. He became an assistant at South Carolina. He was a head coach at Georgia State. He comes back to South Carolina. I think he's in a prime position to really motivate the guys that he has. And, you try to make chicken salad out of chicken, what.
Right.
And maybe Sean Elliott can do that. I'm excited to see how this offensive line play changes under Sean Elliott.
I am too. And last thing I'll say to put a bow on it, I know that coaching or mid-season coaching firings, Diesel, it's not an easy decision to make by Shane Beamer.
Yeah.
Something has to give, though, and I just hope that this move does propel them in the right direction.
One of our texters here, this was JB, says, I think if Carolina finishes 4-8 or 5-7, Beamer bolts for the Virginia Tech job. That's not happening. That's not happening. There's too much money in the SEC, and he is not intentionally digging himself deeper into a hole just to take a job at his alma mater. Not gonna happen. When we come back, Cole, your Dallas Cowboys did not have the most friendly trip into the Queen City of Charlotte. The Carolina Panthers got it done at home against Dallas. How did they do it? And does Cole have a bucket big enough to carry all those Cowboy tears? That conversation next.
busting Bryce Young. And if he makes this, Fitzgerald makes this kick, it's the best decision of his coaching career so far here in Carolina. Fitzgerald for the win. It is good. The Panthers upset the Cowboys for one of Dave Canales' biggest wins as the headman for the Panthers.
Fantastic football game. If you're in Carolina. If you're in Carolina, I was going to ask how you feel about it, Cole.
No.
But that's pretty obvious. Man, what a day for the Carolina Panthers. It wasn't a perfect ball game, but it was pretty close. And I said that on Friday's show, that the Carolina Panthers were going to have to play basically a perfect football game to have a chance to beat the Carolina Panthers. Rico Dowdle absolutely blew his former team out of the water with his performance, Cole. Man, a huge shout out to the way Rico Dowdle played that football game, and he backed up his smack talk over the week. What did he tell him to do? Buckle up. And then afterwards, in the post-game press conference, he answered this question.
They weren't buckled up.
They wasn't buckled up.
They wasn't buckled up. So let me tell you, I had just quit videoing him right before he was asked that question. Man. And when he answered that, I just laughed. As a Cowboys fan, I hate it, but it's funny. And by the way, my buddy Charles texted me, shout out to Rico. You know, he is a native of Gaffney, just up the road. He was born in Gaffney, moved his 9th grade year to a school up in North Carolina, but a guy from the area. He said he had a lot of family Diesel postgame. So while, yeah, it sucked to watch, you do have to be happy for that guy. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it's and look, I know that it hurts you as a Cowboys fan and now be sitting below 500, but Dak Prescott still had himself a huge game, and that loss is not on Dak Prescott. He threw for 261 and 3 touchdowns. He was amazing yesterday. It's not on Dak. It is on that defense. Ugh. And oh my God, does it not show just how far Jerry Jones has let this Cowboys defense fall off. Sure, there are still some names on the defensive side of the ball. There's still some players over there, but there's not enough of them. Trayvon Diggs cannot do it by himself, and it is glaringly apparent that over the next season or two, in the draft and in the acquisitions, maybe leading up to this year's, maybe leading up to the trade deadline or next year's trade deadline, they have got to spend money on defense. They will not make the playoffs this year if they can't spend any money on defense.
No, they're making the playoffs conversation might be over with after yesterday. Mm-hmm. And you talk about now 2-3-1. And don't forget, they also have those 2 picks from the Micah Parsons trade they can use towards some defense as well, which I don't know, do you do that now or later? Because again, you're 2-3-1. You have a really good Commanders team coming to town next week. If you lose that, you're 2-4-1 and your season's pretty much done. So ultimately, yesterday absolutely sucked for me. It was fun and cool being there, covering the team and talking to Bryce Young and Dak Prescott after the game and everything, Diesel. But the reality is, as a diehard Cowboys fan, I've had a laundry list of heartbreaking losses, most of them in the postseason. There are a few in the regular season that have hurt really bad. Yesterday's was up towards the top of that list. It was tough yesterday, because Carolina, to your point, had a really good game plan. I thought they came into the game with an excellent plan of we're going to run the ball and we're not going to let them run the ball. Sure. Look at the difference. Javonte Williams of Dallas Diesel, 13 carries for 29 yards. It was non-existent.
That's not good.
No.
That's not good.
And Rico Dowdle, to somebody's point on the stream, Chuba Hubbard better go ahead and pack his bags, because Rico Dowdle's the better running back.
Chuba's RB2 the day he comes back.
Oh, my God. He better be.
Over. It's over. Rico Dowdle is your RB1, 30 carries.
Yeah.
183, average 6. I mean, and it was first down, 7-yard pop, 7-yard pop, 7-yard pop all game long. That is the first down push this Carolina Panthers team needs to be successful.
Yeah.
Has to have it.
We talked about it Friday. I just felt like Dallas's defense at some point would get better. They haven't. And here's a crazy statistic for you on this Monday from ESPN Research, Diesel. Since starts were first tracked in 1950, that's a long time, by the way, Dak Prescott is the first quarterback to have 11 or more passing touchdowns / rushing touchdown, 0 turnover, and a non-winning record over a 3-start span. Again, think about that. The only quarterback in history to have those numbers in a 3-game stretch and a losing record. That defense is all-time bad. Now, do the Carolina Panthers deserve credit? They do deserve credit. But you watched the game yesterday, Diesel, as I did and other Tolos did as well. What I hated most is how butt open, wide butt open, I'm going to use that word instead, that those Panthers receivers were.
The word he won't say is ass.
Diesel, they were open, and there wasn't anybody around them. I mean,
Right.
They were wide
Well, here's the thing.
open.
Even when they weren't open, and I'm thinking about that very specific, what was it, the 4th down play in the 4th quarter where Bryce Young slipped it between 2 crossing Dallas defenders and got it into Hunter Renfro's hands.
That was a good.
It was incredible. That was his only reception on the day.
That was a 3rd down, right?
Yeah.
3rd down, 4th down, something like that.
It was his only reception on the day, and he came up big when it really mattered.
He did, and that was pretty much the ball game there. I knew when Carolina got the ball back, the guys I was sitting with in the press box, I looked at them and said, it's over, because they couldn't be – Dallas's defense couldn't stop them all night. You knew that if they had the ball at the last second, they were going to go down there and kick a field goal. Dallas's last offensive possession, though, Diesel, 2 screens in a row that got blew up. You remember that? They threw it a quick screen to the outside, quick screen to the outside. Both got blew up, and it was like, what are we doing here? So you do feel for Dak Prescott, because the guy is like absolutely playing at an MVP elite caliber level like we've seen him do before. But that defense, here's what I don't know. Going back to the last segment, Diesel, about coaches getting fired. How does Matt Eberflus still have a job? I mean, seriously. You just saw the Tennessee Titans fire their head coach today. How does Matt Eberflus have a job? Bad on Jerry Jones. Bad on Brian Schottenheimer for allowing this guy. And again, I'm not being funny. This guy needs to be gone. This defense, I mean, you watched it. It's god awful. I don't know what do you expect to do all year with that defense?
Well, what do you expect Matt Eberflus to do with the personnel that he's been given?
Change the scheme. Get out of here's what's evident after yesterday. The scheme that Matt Eberflus is running doesn't fit the personnel, period. Find a new scheme, change scheme, do something, because here's the deal, Diesel. We talk about this all the time in sports, especially on the offensive side of the football. A lot of coaches go into situations with the attitude of, well, this is my scheme and this is how I'm going to run it. Instead of, I'm going to run a scheme that fits the players and the personnel that I have on the football team. Matt Eberflus is running his scheme with the wrong guys. How about adapting to the players that you have? I know you don't have a fantastic group of defensive players, but you've got some dudes.
Yeah.
Come on.
Even when Matt Eberflus was, last year the head coach in Chicago, his defenses were giving up a ton of points. It wasn't every week. Some weeks they would play pretty good and give up 18 points, 10 points, 16 points. And then some weeks they were giving up 30. They were giving up 25, 30, 20, 29, 34. I mean, they were getting blown out by offenses with a pulse under Matt Eberflus. He is not a shutdown type of defensive coach. Is not.
No, he's not. He's not a good coach. That's the reality of it. He's just not a good coach.
You bring that guy in hoping that, all right, you take the responsibility of being a head coach off of his plate, and now he can let his skill set really shine.
And by the way, shout out to Ted McMillan going into yesterday's game, Diesel, looking for his first career touchdown. Not only did he get one, he got 2 yesterday.
What's crazy is he still wasn't even the leading receiver on the team.
No.
Rico Dowdle was the leading receiver on the team.
Rico had a touchdout,
as a matter of fact,
receiving but not rushing, right?
That was number 4. That's correct. He had a receiving touchdown, not a rushing touchdown. He had Rico had 56 receiving, Tommy Tremble 39, Jimmy Horn Jr. 36, Ted McMillan you got on the list of 29 receiving yards for him.
I will say, there are a lot of NFL venues and stadiums across the country, Diesel, that are elite. I mean, they're just great crowd, great tailgating. Charlotte, I think the Panthers, even in a bad year, average year, I think the Panthers' game day environment is a very underrated environment.
Well, they got to stop selling their tickets to opposing fans because when Carolina was driving, it was loud.
Correct. And I say that having watched Dallas come to town. If I watch Buffalo next week, it might be the same thing. So it was a great environment because of so many Dallas fans there. I think the Panther fans need to do a lot better job of, to your point, showing up, because you're right. It felt like 50-50.
Well, now they got a reason not to sell their tickets on StubHub.
Yeah.
You know those Dallas fans are going to come in and they're going to pay whatever it takes to go see their Dallas Cowboys play. Now you Carolina Panthers fans, stop selling those tickets. Rick and Greer, who said he's had a PSL since the Carolina Panthers were playing down in Clemson. Stop selling your tickets, Rick.
You got to go. Look, it was a great atmosphere. Like the rain held off. It drizzled a little bit, but it wasn't anything bad. I mean, the tailgating scene yesterday was just phenomenal. And look, those are two fan bases. One hadn't won in, 28, 29 years. One hadn't won in a little bit longer than that, or a little bit shorter than that, Diesel. And so both fan bases yesterday, like it's a fun, like Carolina, Dallas, going to one of those games in Charlotte's fun because Carolina Panther fans hate those Dallas Cowboy fans. Hate them. And Dallas fans, they look down on Panther fans like they're just some little small NFL organization. But, man, yesterday it was not fun. It was not fun leaving, seeing the it sucked, just to put it like that to you. Yesterday sucked.
So I sat on the couch and watched the first and the fourth quarters. I listened to the second and the third quarters on the play-by-play. I didn't get to see much of Bryce Young. I know he made the plays that he needed to make when he needed to make them. He wasn't stellar. He was 17 of 25 for 199 yards. I mean, I feel like we have to have this conversation every week when it comes to Bryce Young. Is he doing, from what you saw, is he doing enough to sort of change that narrative about him as a quarterback? Or is it still kind of, all right, this is maybe the upper end. This is Bryce Young's ceiling as a quarterback.
Well, I
think
is
winning games.
I think that opinion's a little bit skewed based off of what we saw yesterday because he was playing the 32 ranked defense in the NFL. So he did look good, though.
It's like saying Clemson is back after playing two awful defenses.
Right. He looked good. He had one bad throw, and it was intercepted in the first half.
Well, that was tipped.
It was tipped.
It was tipped up in the air.
Yeah, and again, I thought he looked good. Does it change my opinion? No, not necessarily, but I think he played good yesterday. Again, he made a few good throws. A few of them were wide open. But I like – and look, Ted McMillan coming on a little bit. Xavier Legette getting a little bit more involved. Rico Dowdle's, to our point, he's got to be RB1 at this point. The defense played good enough. I mean, especially against the run. They were fantastic. But ultimately, it's something for the Panthers to build on because now they're 500, Diesel. And you know who they have this week, don't you? The New York Jets. A very winnable game.
On the road.
A chance to go 4-3. Winning record. You hadn't had a 500 record, Diesel, in 4 seasons.
The Jets 0-6, obviously winless at home and on the road.
Yeah, they suck.
You cannot let the New York Jets throw a wet blanket over this feeling that you have right now.
That'd be bad.
You cannot let that happen because not only is that a loss, it would be a loss to a god-awful team.
And it's a Jets team that Dallas just beat last week by like 20, 30-something points.
Right.
The Jets yesterday had negative 10 yards passing in their football game. Negative 10 yards passing.
How is that possible?
I don't know. But it's a bad Jets team. Carolina's only favored by 1.5. Only 1.5. So we'll see. Daily Wire's coming up. We have a problem, and I don't know what to do about this problem. Maybe Artolos can help. Do you smell what I smell? No. No. You and I enter the building through a door, the same door every day, and there were a million, for whatever reason today, a million little small bugs, like surrounding the door. I had to go through them and close my ears and mouth and eyes. You saw them, right?
I did see them.
Okay, one was on me a minute ago. I found it.
Yep.
And now the entire this side smells like the stink bugs. It's awful. You don't smell that?
No.
It's terrible.
I have a dog, though, with stinky smells, so I don't really.
But you know how those stink bugs smell?
Yeah.
The odor?
Yeah.
I think that's what I don't know, but it's bad.
Did you shower this morning?
I did. I did, I think. But I just found one of those freaking bugs on me, and they were like surrounding. So we need a pest control Tolo to come out and take care of that, right? I mean, is that what we're good? Is that what we're doing right now?
Hey, we can hook you up with a salesperson.
Yeah, really.
Get you on the books.
Get rid of these freaking bugs, man. I mean, now the whole studio smells like a stink bug, and that's not what you want on a Monday. But what you do want is a little headline segment. We call them our Daily Wires. That's next. Every single day on this show, we do a segment where we catch you up on what's happening in the sports world. We call it our Daily Wires. And Diesel, the worst of the day. I hate to tell you, hate to report this. I saw this as soon as I woke up this morning in our inbox, and it stinks, but it happened. South Carolina women's basketball senior star Chloe Kitts has been diagnosed with a torn ACL in her right knee that requires surgery, and she will be out the entire 2025-2026 season. She's expected to have surgery this week. Dawn Staley said, "We hate this for Chloe, who has worked incredibly hard to become the best version of herself on the court this season. Her teammates are capable of stepping up, and I know that her competitive fire and tenacity will be felt from the sideline as she pours what she can into them to ensure our team's success." Just awful news.
Terrible. Begs the question, will she, if she even has a red shirt available, will she stick around for another year, get a year of tape before going off to the WNBA, or just head off to the WNBA?
You're talking about one of the best players in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just like South Carolina wasn't – they were really good last year. They weren't what they usually are. And you're thinking this year, man, Chloe Kitts is coming back. They've got a chance. I know, you had a transfer, but still, like, this is devastating. Hate it for her. It was announced over the weekend, in case you missed it, that Shane Beamer has fired offensive line coach Lonnie Teasley. We talked about that in the first segment, Diesel. Also, less than an hour after James Franklin was fired, four-star recruit of 2027, Kamon Spell, the number one running back, decommitted from the Nittany Lions, as well as two other commits that announced they were decommitting in Leighton Van Brandt and Gabriel Jenkins. Not good.
No, he committed to the coach, not to the program.
Speaking of firings, Oregon State, one of the country's worst football teams this season, has fired head coach Trent Bray after an 0-7 start. They lost to Wake Forest Saturday, Diesel, 39-14.
I guess that flying across the country narrative is debunked now.
Yeah. UAB fired Trent Dilfer following a 53-33 road loss at Florida Atlantic. UAB now 2-4 overall, 0-3 in the American. Firings happening everywhere, except in Chapel Hill. As reported by Pete Thamel, Bill Belichick told reporters at his press conference today that any reports of him looking for an exit are categorically false.
Bro, you had your out. Take it. Take it. Don't let your pride keep you in Chapel Hill longer than you need to be.
You got to love it. The AP Top 25's out. We'll get to that in the next couple of segments, Diesel. Clemson did not receive any votes in the Week 8 AP poll, but they did receive 6 votes in the coaches poll.
Clawing that way back, my friend.
We'll see. Colorado drew a $50,000 fine from the Big 12 after fans chanted derogatory phrases at BYU fans September 27th. Now facing another for fans rushing the field after beating ranked Iowa State. After the game, Deion Sanders said, "Is it a fine? Come on, man, that ain't right. I want to see the kids rush the field. I absolutely love it."
Yeah, well, now they're definitely going to do it.
Now, yeah, thanks, Deion.
Does that mean Deion now needs to pay the fines?
It's a good idea.
If the head coach says, "I want to see it, I love seeing it,"
yeah,
isn't that going to kind of convince more students to do it?
What a big day yesterday for former Dallas Cowboy and Gaffney native Rico Dowdle. Racked up 183 yards on 30 carries against his former team as the Carolina Panthers defeated the Dallas Cowboys. Bryce Young went 17 of 25 for 199 yards and 3 passing touchdowns.
What was that? You want to speak up a little bit?
I'm so upset. I can't read this, Steve. I can't do it. I just can't. The Colts backup quarterback. No, seriously, it was a great day for Bryce Young. Colts backup quarterback Anthony Richardson suffered an orbital fracture, which required hospitalization and stitches during Sunday's warm-ups, while using elastic bands to stretch. Wow, things just not going right for Richardson at all. 2 Monday night, not 1, but 2 Monday night football games tonight. 7:15, the 4-1 Bills at 2-2 Falcons. I think that'll be a good game. 8:15, the Bears at the Commanders. We'll see about that. In the MLB postseason, the Mariners lead the Blue Jays 1-0. Game 2 today at 5:03. Dodgers-Brewers game 1 tonight at 8:08. And last one for you, Denny Hamlin secured his 2025 NASCAR Cup Series championship with a win at Las Vegas yesterday, securing his 60th career victory. And those are your Daily Wires.
When we come back, Cole, is there a case to be made by Auburn head coach Hugh Freeze that clearly the referees have it out for him? I mean, we know about the botched call a couple weeks ago against Oklahoma. Well, they did it twice against Auburn in that game on Saturday against Georgia. We'll talk about it, play some dueling audio back and forth between Hugh Freeze and the Georgia Bulldogs head coach Kirby Smart next. Every fan base thinks that the referees are against them. Like the fix is in. Most of the time, referees, they don't give a rip. I mean, I would hope that when the NCAA is deciding who goes and referees what games, you look at a guy and say, "Oh, you're a Alabama alum. We're not going to let you call Alabama games." And that's totally fine. That's totally fair. But Hugh Freeze, who I know a lot of our Tolos don't have a lot of sympathy for, might actually have a case that the referees hate him. Because now, 3 different times in 2 different games, Hugh Freeze's teams have been absolutely screwed by referee blunders.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else to explain it, Cole, because I know there's that whole phrase, that whole saying about being just snake bit by injuries, by whatever it may be. But I mean, come on. The way Hugh Freeze and these Auburn Tigers have been screwed by referees this season, it's hard not to say that the fix is in.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think we all saw what happened, and it just like we all respect Kirby Smart. We all think he's a heck of a football coach, but when you see something like that, Diesel, that we're going to get to in a second, it just makes you want to just throat punch the guy. It makes you lose a little bit of respect. Look, there's nothing wrong with wanting to win, right? But you've got to. I guess I'm just old school in the way of thinking that you've got to win the right way, right? Have class losing, have class winning. I don't like what I saw this weekend. And by the way, quick side note, apologize, Jay Butane. I did not mean to infer that Denny Hamlin won the championship. He qualified for it, according to Jay Butane. So I apologize. That was an error in our Daily Wires. He did win yesterday, qualified for the championship. So appreciate the clarification there.
I am trying to find a good image that shows it so that I can put it up on the stream. Okay. Because in case you haven't seen this yet, this is where this whole thing is coming from. First of all, Auburn got screwed. We know they got screwed in the Oklahoma game with the fake substitution that left a guy wide open on the sideline for a touchdown. Nobody caught it. And, the NCAA and officials, they apologized to Kirby Smart and they punished the referees who missed it. But you get into this home game against Georgia where it was late in the second quarter.
Yeah.
The quarterback tries to go up and over. Ball's, right there on the goal line. Quarterback tries to go up and over. Ball clearly crosses the plane in my mind. Georgia defender knocks it out of his hands, but it doesn't matter because the tip of the football has already crossed the plane. It's ruled a fumble, Georgia ball. If it had been called correctly, you're talking about a 17-0 Auburn lead going into halftime.
Yeah, they were already up, 10? Right before half.
But Georgia gets the ball back. Of course, they march down the field. They kick a field goal, make it 10-3. That's a 10-point swing. Then you get later into the ball game, and we're in a situation, scores 13-10, Georgia leading at the time. Georgia has the ball, 3rd and 9, 13:06 to go in the fourth quarter. Play clock was down to about 2 seconds. Kirby Smart sprints in, and you can see clearly that Kirby is doing the timeout signal. I'm going to put it up on the screen right now. He's rushing in. He's doing the timeout signal. Like trying to say that you're not doing the timeout is like Jerry Jones turning that wrist, going middle finger and say, well, I didn't mean to throw a middle finger at the fans. No, if you go thumbs up and you point, your wrist stays straight. But when you go and turn, that's intentional.
Nobody claps like this.
Yeah, Kirby Smart's coming in saying, he's doing the timeout. But then when he gets called a timeout, he's like, no, I didn't call timeout. They were clapping. I said they were clapping.
Right.
And if you can see it on the screen, the blurry image isn't quite as easy. You got to watch the live video.
But you can still see.
You can clearly see that Kirby Smart is calling a timeout. And Hugh Freeze, as much as a lot of people don't like Hugh Freeze, and that's fine, you can have your reasons, he's not having it anymore. This is Hugh Freeze in his post-game press conference.
I have no clue. It's not the Auburn part I'm worried about. I know who our president and administration and AD are and how they feel, and sure feels like we're not getting many breaks, and it's difficult to take for sure. even on the. There was a lot of things, but I felt like we broke the plane.
They did.
You did.
The ball, just the nose of the ball, just has to break the plane. I thought that was had a pretty good shot of that but it didn't go our way. And then I don't know how they either should have had a delay a game or a timeout, not a whole new play. I'm still not sure what happened there, but there's a lot of times that I make bad calls and officials do the same, but it certainly feels like we're not getting many of the breaks.
So the swing is that Auburn is 3-3, and they could be 5-1 right now. They could be 5-1, and you're talking about a team that's sitting inside the top 15 right now, and it's because they've been screwed by referees in 2 big-time ball games against 2 big-time opponents.
It happens, sadly, just about every year. I still believe South Carolina last year was screwed by the officials. We all believe that Auburn was screwed by the officials this year. Could Auburn have made plays down the stretch and made stops? And, yeah, they could have. But ultimately, when you hear that audio from Hugh Freeze there, Diesel, you hear the frustration, the agony, right? You can hear it. And I'll say this. I think as a college football fan, what makes it probably the most frustrating is that he said it right in that audio. He makes bad decisions, but when he makes bad decisions, he gets fired for those bad decisions.
Yeah.
When officials make bad decisions, my issue is there's no accountability. There's zero accountability when you say, well, Coach, Cole, the officials do get they have their tape. They go back and no. There's no accountability. They don't have to stand in a press conference after the game and answer questions.
Yeah.
They don't have to go on a TV show the next Tuesday, Diesel, in front of the country and ask questions. They don't get fired for bad calls. It's just, I understand that humans are going to make mistakes. I get it. But we have too many cameras. We have too many replay officials, replay centers, and all this technology. We just shouldn't have to have these situations. We should be able to get it right.
And the difference here, like I said, 5-1 versus 3-3. 3-3 is where they are right now. The difference is also 16-15. Hugh Freeze's overall record at Auburn, which again, not great.
You said 16-15?
16-15. Right now he's 14-17. He'd be 16-15. He'd be plus 500 at Auburn, building back. But, a year from now, 2 years from now, if the Auburn faithful get frustrated with this, they just look at the record. They don't look back at it and say,
right.
oh, well, it's in the Oklahoma game we got screwed, and in the Georgia game we got screwed. They don't look at that. The context, falls out in the wash at that point. So there's huge consequences to getting this stuff wrong. And you're right. And not having the ability to go back and look at it. The fact that some plays are not reviewable when we know they affect the outcome of the games is just a ludicrous statement to me. Oh, well, that's not reviewable. Why not? Why can't you make it reviewable? Why can't you go back and look at something that know is going to change the trajectory of the game and desire to get it right? I just don't understand that.
It's the fact of the matter is we're not in 1998 anymore. We have it's 2025 for crying out loud.
From Kirby's perspective, just say if what you were trying to signal was, hey, they're clapping and trying to throw us off, but you accidentally somehow do this motion right here.
Yeah.
Just own it. Be like, oops, my bad. I'm in the heat of the moment. I'm running and I accidentally did this. But it's not like he just tapped it one time and then went to the clap. He tapped the timeout signal clearly multiple times.
That's why I couldn't be a coach. If that happened to me and I was the opposition, I would lose my what.
Hugh has every right to do so.
I'll be you think Shane Beamer and Steve Spurrier used to throw headsets? Those things would be smashed. I hate it. I do.
My wife and I've been going back and watching Curb Your Enthusiasm, trying to finish off the show. And one of the recent episodes, Larry David's roommate gets a job as house husband. His job is to go around and tell the plumber that wants to do like $5,000 worth of plumbing work. No. Just do this. It costs $200. Do that instead. Or you tell the auto mechanic, hey, they want to do $5,000 worth of work. No, you're going to change the oil. You're going to do this. That's maybe every college football program, especially in the SEC, needs to have a coach who is willing to be the fall guy, who will come out in the media and rant. I mean, like Mike Gundy, epic style rants, knowing that he is expendable. But guess what? That's your job. Your job is to be expendable. You are there to say the things that the head coach can't say because the head coach doesn't want to get fined by the conference.
You just hate it for the integrity of the game.
Right. You do. And it's Kirby saying, "Oh, I didn't do it. I didn't mean it that way." Well, it doesn't matter what you meant, Kirby. What you did was show the timeout. Here's Kirby in his post-game press conference.
Yeah, they're clapping. So I told them before the game, if these guys clap, it's a penalty. They can't clap because it will false snap. I've lost games on that before in the stadium. And I told them, I said, they clap. I'm going to tell you, I got somebody in the box watching every play. They were clapping. So I ran over to him and said, they're clapping.
No, he didn't.
They're clapping. And he thought I called timeout. And so I wanted to make sure he understood it. Go lip read because I'm screaming, they're clapping. They're clapping. I didn't need a timeout because we were going to get it off before the shot clock. It was 2-1. We were going to get it off before the play clock ended.
No, you weren't. What a scum.
It was the fact that they were clapping. I wanted them to call it because it's a penalty.
It was 3rd and 9, Kirby. The play clock was down to 1.5. Just admit that you got away with one.
Yeah.
Be like, you know what? I meant to clap, but my hand accidentally did this. If you got called for a timeout, be like, oopsie whoopsie, I accidentally did the wrong hand motion, whatever. And just be like, okay, we got away with that one. Don't lie about it after the fact.
Jeff R. on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line said, is it just me or have we noticed an uptick in referees throwing a flag way after a play is done, like they watch the screen, then make a decision? I just, again, there's a lot of things that I've seen, and it feels like every season it just gets worse.
I think they're training these referees more often than not. Throw the flag and then let the command center figure it out because they'll have more angles at it than you do.
Yep.
They'll be able to watch it slow down and slow-mo that you can't see. Just throw the flag, and if it gets waved off, it gets waved off. Who cares if it slows the game down and makes it worse? Just throw that flag anyway.
Real quick before we transition to some other games, Diesel, a friend of mine just sent me a screenshot and a video, and this is a good format breaker. He says, heard you talking about all of the bugs on the side of the building a minute ago and them stinking. And he sends me a video of his car. It's a white car covered in the same bugs. You know what they are? They're ladybugs. He says it's ladybug season. They're looking for warm places to hibernate for the winter. Anywhere warm that's in the sunlight, though. I'm not kidding.
I mean, that side of the building gets morning sun.
Were those ladybugs outside?
I don't think they were, unless there's like a younger larval form of
those
ladybugs.
Look darker than ladybugs.
Aren't red, but these were not red at all.
We had to go inspect during the commercial break, I believe, to see if those were ladybugs.
I did have an apartment get swarmed by ladybugs once.
That is weird.
It was that same mating season, whatever you want. And like corner of the window, this was not an old crummy apartment either.
Yeah.
Corner of the window, ladybugs came in and they were trailing across the ceiling like ants. It was crazy.
That by the way, that was in North Carolina where that guy just sent me that. So he heard us. RJ says Kirby Smart clapping is the equivalent of me currently occupying the office of South Carolina governor. It's a load of it, isn't it? I mean, it just makes you sick to hear that. But what do you do?
Maybe though, like this, the shine on Kirby Smart is starting to wear off, and people are getting a little tired of his antics and tired of his smugness. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. Moving on, Cole, to another SEC matchup, the Red River Shootout. Arch played mediocre football again, yet somehow they found a way to win the football game.
I thought he played better in the sense of like he didn't cost his team the game. Obviously, they moved the ball. Their defense is really, really good. Yeah. And the fact that you go back and think, what, they allow 14 points in that first game to Ohio State? I know that Arch Manning didn't look like Arch Heisman on Saturday, but when you're going against a good Oklahoma team, number one, Texas's defense was just stellar. Number two, Arch did what he was supposed to. To your point, he didn't light it up. I did watch that game. It was a good game. It just felt like you watched that game thinking, Diesel, at no point did you feel like Oklahoma was ever going to threaten. Texas' defense, this might be one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the country. They're playing at an elite level. Now 4-2 on the season, 1-1 in conference. Texas is not out yet. Like, they're not, like, you can't, I'm not saying Arch is going to have this miraculous run, but I'm just saying, if you do think about it, Diesel, the team that you probably don't want to get hot is probably Texas.
Yeah, with the defense as good as they have, if Arch can figure out how to play like this most games, I think they'll be in them and have a chance to win, depending on who they play. Now, this is a terrible decision by Brent Venables to let John Mateer go out there and play. Just 2 weeks off of his hand surgery. I didn't see the footage of this. Apparently, his hand was bleeding at one point in the game, like the stitches had popped open and he was bleeding. Look, if it works out and you win that football game, even if you win ugly, you're talking about one of those legendary Kurt Schilling bloody sock kind of moments. If it works, you're an absolute legend. If it doesn't, people call you an idiot, and it did not work for Oklahoma.
He said he felt no pain after the loss of Texas, but, man, I just don't know. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if he was on if they gave him – I don't know what they gave. There's just no way, certainly, Diesel, that he could say that he didn't feel any pain. Ultimately, though, it's a huge win for Texas because they're kind of playing – you could argue that Texas is kind of in a playoff spot where every game's now a playoff to them. Yeah. And fortunately for Oklahoma, they're able to lose that game. So they're a 5-1 team now, and still a lot of football to be played now, making the trip up here Saturday.
And South Carolina Gamecock fans better hope that extra week does not give John Mateer enough time to get himself right and get himself ready. You better hope that he is still just a little bit banged up going into that game, because that makes this game winnable. And you and I talked about it earlier. Some of the early projections on bowl season have South Carolina Gamecocks playing in bowl games. I don't know that there's 3 more winnable games left on that schedule. So you got to get this one this weekend against Oklahoma, and you got to get Coastal Carolina, and you got to get Clemson. That's your chance to get yourself bowl eligible this year.
That's a 12:45 kick, by the way, on SEC Network this Saturday. Oklahoma favored by 5.5 points. Still a lot to get to in the show. We have some funny Dan Campbell audio, overreaction Monday at 5 p.m. We want to hear from you in terms of what your overreaction is. We may have some upset pick challenge standings, may not. Hopefully we don't. I don't want to see them. Some audio, biggest surprises, takeaways from Friday night, high school football week 7, and then we're going to rank the available coaching jobs in the final hour of the show. A lot more coming your way right here on the Fan Upstate. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com every single Monday at this time joins the show to talk Clemson next. Well, every Monday at this time, we talk Clemson football with Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com. If you are a Clemson fan and have a question for Grayson, let him know, let us know, and we might get to it on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-326-3663. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com. Rumor has it, Grayson, that your New England Patriots are playing so well, you have sold your soul to college football, and tonight you're on the road to Atlanta for Monday Night Football. You're not going to cover college anymore. You're just an NFL guy now. Is that right?
I think I lucked my way into my brother having to do a full teacher takeover, so I'm taking his season ticket for tonight.
Gotcha.
And I'm going to be a pseudo Falcons fan for rent tonight. And with if Buffalo loses tonight, New England gets first place in the division, so the rooting interest is only higher. So I can't wait, man.
I like it.
Grayson, it's a couple of games in a row now that Clemson has looked themselves right back to form. Curious to know, how long do you think Cade would have stayed in the game past where he exited after that ankle injury, and what can you give us as far as the latest on that?
Yeah, so Sweeney talked to us last night about it, and he says that he thinks Cade Klubnik is going to be okay, and that they're going to probably limit him a ton in practice. And as far as I'm aware, we were watching him like a hawk during the scenario where he goes into the tent, doesn't look as good. There's a little bit of panic. You have the Twitter DMs flying. And so we're watching the tent. He's in there for a long time. And I feel like usually you kind of have an idea of, all right, we need to get you to the locker room, or we need to sort of figure out what the next step is. He was in there for quite some time. And so the concerns started to build, obviously, with this group. And so Klubnik comes out. He gives his parents the thumbs up that he's going to be okay. And ultimately, I talked to him post-game to sort of get an idea of how he's feeling, how he's doing. And he said that he was fine. He didn't really have a comment as to his total status, but overall, he said he was going to be okay. Sweeney, it sounds like he's going to be okay. So not as much concern, but ultimately something we have to monitor, especially the way that they've run the offense with Christopher Vizina.
What was your biggest takeaway from Clemson's win up north on Sunday, Grayson, as you now travel south? What was your biggest takeaway from you being there in person?
Yeah, so I watched the game back in the Boston airport, trying to just sort of assess where things are at. And the thing that I got away from this, and you and I talked about, me and Diesel had talked about the North Carolina game and how much of a mess Bill Belichick-led squad is. And that my theory was, okay, I think Clemson's going to win this game, but I don't think it's going to be this easy smackdown where players aren't even tackling or trying. This is going to be a comfortable win for Clemson in the sense of situationally, offensively, I thought they're going to get the points when they needed to. And again, they were in control. Klubnik and Garrett Riley, I felt like it was Riley's best called game. Klubnik, I'd asked him what was sort of the secret to success with these receivers. And he said that they were kind of noticing a man tendency running single high safety. So Riley called a lot of brilliant designs over the middle of the field, forcing these Boston College DBs to choose, okay, you had to go this way or that way. You got to communicate well. And it felt like it really benefited Bryant Wesco, Antonio Williams, who had 12 combined catches. I was really impressed with the product. I know fans are going to push back and say, well, it's Boston College, and that it's this idea that they're playing in fear of competition. But I don't think Clemson's earned that benefit of the doubt if they just get to go in and mollywop a team this year. I think that they've sort of proven now that they have an opportunity against SMU to play better competition and see how it goes.
Well, Grayson, in this is something you've told us multiple times throughout the season, that Christopher Vizina is just not ready. And yeah, what we saw on Saturday night in Boston is just more proof of that. Christopher Vizina is not ready. So I think it's fairly okay to say that if Vizina has to go and be QB1, Clemson's probably going to struggle in this game coming up on Saturday against SMU, a pretty good team. I mean, they're going to have to score. In my mind, they're going to have to score 30 points to have a chance to win this football game. What is, what kind of regimen are they doing to try to get Cade back? You said a lot of rest. I mean, is it just stay off of it for 4 days and hope for the best? Is that really where we are?
Well, it's an ankle sprain, so it's tricky. You don't want to overdo it in practice. And I think at this point in the season, you're at an understanding of where the offense is at. And for Klubnik, he's been around the block a few times with this Garrett Riley offense. So I don't think they're going to push it too hard in practice. The thing that the doctor maybe ordering here is that he just needs to rest it and not overdo it. Obviously, mentally, you still want to take those reps, but I can imagine it's going to be a lot of mental stuff for him and trying to just sort of, when they're running that scout team look, when they're running those stuff at Wednesday and through Tuesday practices, it's all right, Klubnik, what are you seeing here? We're going to run this at half speed. We just want you to see what SMU is going to try to diagnose on Saturday. We're not going to really run you around too much. He's a tough kid. We've seen that on multiple occasions where he's gotten whacked before. But I do think with an ankle sprain, it's tricky, and Clemson's going to have to be really careful here. And I think also it changes how they operate the offense on Saturday, because we saw a lot of motion. We saw a lot of movement with Klubnik's legs, and I really felt like that's opened up this Clemson offense in the last few weeks, is Klubnik scrambling and a lot of more designed runs. I don't think they can do that as much on Saturday, if at all, because of the nature of this injury.
Grayson, you mentioned a few minutes ago about Garrett Riley and his play calling on Saturday night. Do you believe that Garrett Riley and the offensive staff can take a lot away, can learn a lot from a night like this? You talked about Boston College going into the game 1-4 on the season. Clemson had their way, now 3-3 on the season. What do you feel like the offense can learn about where they are, improvements, versus kind of what you said from the fan perspective of, well, do you really think the offense got better just because of who they played? What do you think they can learn through that?
Well, I asked Klubnik exactly that. What can this offense learn? And he said, I think we've learned the power of fast starts. And that's something that this offense, up to that point in North Carolina, hasn't necessarily done, is having a nice scripted set, knowing and understanding what we want to do with the ball. There's been a balance between running Adam Randall early, trying to establish that, while getting Klubnik out in space and finding open receivers for these plays. One of the best throws of the night from Klubnik wasn't the one that it was great, the touchdown throw to Wesco, but it was that back shoulder fade early on in the game where it felt like they were on the same page. They understood what Boston College was trying to do. And I don't know if that's something that they diagnosed beforehand and say, this is a design back shoulder, or Wesco and Klubnik are communicating and saying, I've seen this, let's go here. And that's just sort of the chemistry that these two have developed throughout this season. They've been remarkable. And Wesco has been one of the best receivers in the country and may not get the credit he deserves because of Clemson's record. But, man, he was on fire, and he continues to do so and perform at a high level this year.
At Gray_man21 is where you can find and follow him on Twitter. Kane on the stream says, Grayson, could you ask Dabo tomorrow if he's satisfied with the quarterback development now, and since Trevor Lawrence has left? So we got a request here for a question for you to ask of Dabo. My question for you now, and again, I only bring this up because a listener brought it up on the text line earlier. Now with the head coaching job at Penn State open, can you tell us what you know about Tom Allen's possible desire to ever be a head coach again?
I think that one of the main factors of Tom Allen making this move was to be closer with his family. He's got family in North Carolina. I believe his children live in that state. I don't know exactly where. And so that was a big reason as why he wanted to come to Clemson. And so I don't anticipate all of a sudden there's going to be Tom Allen back up to Penn State. I think that the move is going to be a little bit more national. And honestly, to me, the candidate guys that I think folks need to start talking about is Alex Golesh at USF, being a guy that's done a lot with very little, and seeing what he's been able to do over there at South Florida. I can't imagine what a coach of his caliber could do with the resources up there in Happy Valley. That's going to be a little bit more of a national search. I don't think Tom Allen, if fans are worried about him potentially flipping back to Penn State, I don't envision that being the case.
Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, joining us right here on the Fan Upstate. When you start looking to SMU, you talked about what Cade's health will mean. Look, Cade Klubnik had a big Saturday on Saturday night in Boston. If he's healthy, there's signs to believe that he and the receivers could have a big day this Saturday as well. SMU, they're ranked 133rd nationally in passing yards allowed at 316 yards per game. Do you feel like even if Cade Klubnik limps literally into the start on Saturday against SMU, that the SMU's deficiencies on defense will still allow Cade to have a good enough day for the Tigers to get the win?
I think if you're a betting man, you're going to have to take the over and run with it, because this is going to be a track meet on Saturday. SMU's offense, of course, much like last year, high-flying Kevin Jennings and SMU, they've seemingly picked up where they left off on that side of the ball, but defensively, that's where those struggles have gone. TCU and Baylor, their 2 losses, they've given up, I believe, an average of 37 points a game. It's been pretty ridiculous, the rate of how many points SMU has to score to just stay in these games. So for Clemson, it's going to be a lot of, okay, is Klubnik going to be healthy? But I do think that you look at this SMU defense, and if you have to go to Christopher Vizina, at least you're playing a defense that you're not playing the 85 Bears here. It's going to be a group that's given up a lot of chunk plays. They can't get off the field on third down. That's pretty quarterback friendly. And so whoever lines up under center on Saturday for Clemson, I do think they're going to be able to put points on the board in an effective way.
If Cade has to stand in the pocket and essentially just be a statue back there, number one, how do you feel about the offensive line's ability to give him enough time to be successful there? And, you know, if he can't run with his legs, do you think there's enough to be able to find success on the field?
I really felt like the offensive line against Boston College. Now, granted, there's always going to be that caveat of the competition. But I do believe, and you saw it with Braden Jacobs, and Sweeney had said on Saturday night that Jacobs grew up in Chestnut Hill in a big way. I really felt like the offensive line protection-wise, especially on the tackles, and I watched this again on Sunday to confirm, but man, I really felt like that group played really well. Some of the runs that they're being able to develop and some of those gaps that are wide open, it's more about the vision of Adam Randall, which is a different conversation. But I've been really pleased with this offensive line the last 2 weeks. It's going to be a little bit of a bigger step, and maybe you'd like to have Tristan Lee in there, a little bit more experience. But Braden Jacobs really gave you a reason to feel confident that if Lee's not ready to go, he can provide quality reps at left tackle and give you something really good to feel about. That can anchor right there, even with his size. And he's becoming more assertive, especially within the screen game and some other stuff that they were trying to run. Felt like it was a big night for 74. And so as this competition increases in difficulty, I think the offensive line has risen to the occasion, and they'll play pretty well.
Grayson, where do you feel like the mindset is right now among the fan base? It's kind of uncharted waters in a way, just with the team being 3-3, the season feeling like a wash, right? The playoff chances very, very low at this point, the rough 1-3 start. Where do you feel like the pulse is on this fan base right now?
I think right now it's just the excitement that the team is winning football games. And I had mentioned it earlier, and I'd written in a column about if this success can be sustainable. And I'd hark back to the Troy game where you, me and Diesel sat down and said, this Troy game is the get-right game for Clemson after a rough showing against LSU. And it was anything but. There was the Mother Nature delay. You needed everything in the arsenal, even outside of your control, to beat a Trojans team that's out in the group of 5. So for Clemson, you looked at this 2-game road trip as a roadmap back to success, and you were playing inferior competition. Can Clemson get back to that expectation of, okay, they're playing X team. They're going to go in there talent-wise. This shouldn't be a competition. And so for Clemson now, it's can they sustain this against better competition? I think SMU, you can get a win on Saturday. I know that this team would be 4-3 and that a lot of Clemson's goals preseason aren't attainable right now, but at least you're starting to validate that some of the stuff that's going on within the building. I mean, you look at Penn State, guys, that team quit on James Franklin after the Oregon game. The Oregon game was their Super Bowl, and then shortly after, the Super Bowl hangover took place in a pretty nasty way against Northwestern and UCLA. And those are teams you absolutely shouldn't be beating. That'd be if Clemson lost. So let's say they lost to North Carolina and then followed that up with a loss to Boston College on that 2-game stretch on the schedule, sort of trying to compare Big Ten teams to ACC teams. But you look at Dabo Swinney and how he's able to sort of right the ship here. I think he's done a really good job in these last 2 weeks. It's hard to be 1-3 and in an NIL era where it's easy to tap out. I think this team's done a phenomenal job the last 2 weeks, given the circumstances that they've had.
Grayson, can you give us your thoughts on the development and the relationship between Cade Klubnik and Bryant Wesco, who is emerging as the number 1 wide receiver on this team? I mean, his reception yards are dwarfing everybody else on the team. He's got about 250 on TJ Moore and almost 300 plus on Antonio Williams. Why is it, and what is it about this talented sophomore who's not the biggest wide receiver, really kind of separating himself from the other guys on this team?
And he really could have more if a couple balls just fit in those mitts the right way in certain games. So he's had a subject of criticism because he's had a couple drops, But overall, Wesco, I think the injury to Antonio Williams was a big part, and Klubnik had to really rely on somebody else. And they've really sparked this chemistry. It felt like that there was a healthy balance last year between the freshman wideouts and then obviously Antonio Williams leading the charge. But when Zero goes down, someone has to step up. And Wesco certainly has. He's made big plays. He's made big plays where Klubnik can trust him to win 50-50 balls. And on third down, it feels like he's looking to 12 on a consistent basis. So certainly a positive spot and something that the trust is continuing to build. I think that back shoulder fade at Boston College early on in the game was really emblematic of how much these two really trust each other.
All right, Grayson, let's get to it. Since your team is good, mine's not, we'll let you shine. Your time to shine. The New England Patriots 4-2, 3-0 on the road after yesterday's 25-19 win over the Saints. It was close, but you got the win. That's all that matters. Drake May looked good, 18 of 26, 261 and 3 touchdowns. Take your fan glasses off for a second, if you don't mind, okay? Sure. Is this Patriots team a contender?
I'm not sure. I think that I'm excited right now because it's a team that's won 4 games. They've won 4 games in 2023. They won 4 games in 2024, and they're sitting at 4-2 in 2025. So it's tough not to get excited and be sucked into the thrill that is this season has become. And I was really worried, Cole, that after Buffalo, it's this emotional high. Patriots fans haven't had a win like this in forever, probably since Brady was on the team. How do they handle that success? You go play a New Orleans team that's, I think, better than their record indicates. A lot of one-score losses. Spencer Rattler doesn't look like a statue out there. He can really sling it. So you're wondering how this Patriots team could respond. And man, let me tell you, the schedule looks pretty favorable. I think they're a playoff team. And overall, I think as the play continues to evolve from Drake May, I find it hard outside a few quarterbacks who's playing better than him right now. I think obviously you have your set top quarterbacks in the league, the Mahomes, the Lamar Jacksons, Josh Allens. But Drake May, as of right now, I think he's playing like a top 6 quarterback as of right now. Yeah. I'm not trying to put him over anybody else, but Lamar obviously isn't in that conversation because he's hurt. There's other factors going on, but he's one of the few quarterbacks I've seen a stat driving up here to Atlanta that he's one of 3 quarterbacks on pace to throw for 250 yards per game with a passer rating over 100. That's Patrick Mahomes and Dan Marino. So he's an elite company. Drake May certainly playing like a franchise quarterback, and I got a big smile on my face when that CBS flicker comes on and the Patriots are playing.
Grayson, in the context of this conversation, this may sound like an odd question, but after I ask it, you'll probably figure out why. Grayson, are you a coffee drinker? I know you're a busy guy who has lots of deadlines to fill in, and TigerNet, you guys are always posting a ton of content. Are you a coffee drinker, a caffeine consumer?
I'm really not a coffee drinker. And everyone they look at me like I have 4 eyes when I say that, given the schedule. I have been tempted, but I feel like I'm one of those people that if I started drinking coffee, I'd become over-reliant on it for energy. So I don't know if you're trying to segue into like an ad or something, so I apologize if you're not. But
well, we were trying to, but the sponsor just quit. We can't anymore.
Thanks. We just lost them.
I mean, yes, I love coffee. Yes.
No, Grayson, I was going to ask you, how you do it when it comes to creating and generating the kind of content that you have to create and all the travel that you do because you're all over the place. And we're going to be getting into this Dan Campbell story in the next segment of the show. So I was just curious you're just naturally gifted. Not everybody has that, and you should be proud of that.
I appreciate that. I really do. The coffee thing, I really hope that like you weren't like about to go into like a commercial there, do an ad read, and the person that you're trying to ask to like set it up, like you lobbed me up a pass and I dropped it completely. So if I fumbled that's on me, guys.
It's all good. You're the best, man. Appreciate you as always. Have fun tonight.
I appreciate you guys. God bless y'all.
Absolutely. Grayson Mann, TigerNet.com, joins us every Monday at that time. Diesel. Good stuff there.
Yep. When we come back, the reason I asked Grayson that question, and again, I am jealous because think of all the money he is saving over the course of his lifetime, not consuming tremendous amounts of coffee every single day to get his job done. But it is going viral. The story of Dan Campbell's Starbucks order. We'll get into the numbers of it and how, good God, that might be really unhealthy next. You know, Cole, that saying that Americans will do anything not to use the metric system.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes we measure things based on its ability or inability to kill a horse. They're like, that's so much cocaine, it would kill a horse. You know, that kind of thing, that saying.
Yeah.
Well, I think we need to change that to what it would take to kill Dan Campbell, the head football coach of the Detroit Lions, because Dan is going viral right now for his daily Starbucks coffee order. He was in a press conference somehow, some way. Somebody asked him what he does to have the energy that he has every single day. And this is why I asked Grayson Mann that question in the last segment. Here was Dan on his daily Starbucks order before coming into work.
Well, normally what I do is I'll get 2 venti. I go to, Starbucks, I get 2 venti of the pike with 2 shots in them. So black eye in both. That's what I come in with. That's how I start the day.
What was that sound effect you made?
He's going like pouring extra shots into your coffee. So he orders 2 venti pike roasts, which is just their daily, coffee that they brew.
Yeah.
And 2 shots of espresso in each. I did the math on this, Cole. A venti pike roast coffee is between 390 and 490 milligrams of caffeine. So let's average that out and say you're talking about 450. He's drinking 2 of those. That's 900 milligrams of caffeine to start his day. He also adds 4 shots of espresso, which are about 75 milligrams of caffeine. So add another 300 milligrams to that. That means in the 40 ounces of brewed coffee plus 4 shots of espresso, Dan Campbell is taking in roughly 1,200 milligrams of caffeine every single morning. Sometimes more, because it depends on the roast and the brew and how you make it.
It's got to be good for his heart, right?
No, it's not.
Oh.
It's really not good for your heart, Dan. The FDA says you should not consume more than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day, and Dan is quadrupling it.
He probably doesn't care, I guess. My only concern is, do you think Dan Campbell can afford that every single day?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money. You think so?
I mean, do you think he could just show up and, I don't know, flash his Lions ID badge and just get his coffee for free?
But, those people at Starbucks probably have no idea who he is, what a lion is, right? They probably think there's lions outside. I mean, they wouldn't know. But that's insane.
Yeah.
I don't drink coffee a lot. I do occasionally, but I get some people need it just doesn't affect me.
I drink 2 in the morning just to get out of bed. 1 right before our show, and sometimes 1 more towards the end of our show if I feel myself, dragging a little bit, or if I plan to go to the gym right afterwards. But I'm only consuming at most around 500 milligrams per day. Dan is consuming 1,500 before going to work, which is nuts.
That's a lot. It just doesn't do anything for me. I don't know why.
Maybe you're not drinking enough.
I've tried. I mean, I don't hate it with cream and stuff. I don't like it black, but it just, I guess it's one of those things. It's like the Dallas Cowboys. You either love it or hate it.
Texter says, y'all realize that's a year. No, I didn't realize that was a year old. It was in today's news. Texter. It was in today's news.
That?
If the news is a year late, well, then the news is a year late, but I don't have time to fact check everything.
How do you like those apples? It is time, Diesel, to overreact. And Tolos, we need your help. Diesel and I have overreactions, but we want to hear your best sports overreaction from what happened this weekend. Give me a good one today. We need a good Monday overreaction. Phone lines are open right now, 844-326. There are people already calling. 844-326-3663. Overreaction Monday next.
to be fired.
It is time to overreact to what we saw, what you saw this weekend in the sports world, and there is plenty to overreact to. So we don't want to hear your excuses about how you don't have an overreaction today and you can't call the show and your wife said you got to get home in time for the kids' baseball game. No, screw all that. Overreaction's more important. And we want to hear from you. 844-326-3663. The best overreaction you have on this Overreaction Monday. Diesel, do you think our Tolos can really step it up today?
I don't know, man. They've been slacking over the last couple of weeks. Everybody
what's your name?
should have very strong opinions about what they saw this weekend. South Carolina Gamecock fans, especially, you should have
Hey, had a
strong
coach
opinions.
fired.
Yeah, coach got fired, and so far, at least as of right now, we don't know what else might come. We don't really feel that passion from you South Carolina Gamecock fans. The anger, where is it?
Yeah, and you know what else? I will bring an overreaction back that I had in the very first segment when we were talking about Lonnie Teasley Diesel. I think the wrong coach got fired. Do I think Lonnie Teasley did a good job? I don't think they got the best out of their offensive line this season. There's no denying that. But I think the wrong coach got fired, Gamecock fans. What do you think? 844-326-3663. Phone lines are open. We have Dale up first. And I believe Dale and I were in the same building yesterday, Diesel, and had the same feelings, the same sad, depressed feelings after the Cowboys let us down. I'm sure Dale does not have an overreaction. Do you, Dale?
Well, first of all, you were nowhere to be found. I don't know where you were at, tucking tail or whatever.
I was there.
He was up there eating shrimp cocktails and drinking champagne in the media booth, Dale.
I'm sorry. I was down there in the mucky muck.
No, I waited.
Oh.
I waited intentionally on all of the fans to leave because I just didn't want to hear it. I knew those Panther fans were going to let us have it after, you know how Cowboy fans are. They talk their smack, and rightfully so. And boy, there was a lot of them there yesterday.
I took it like it was probably about 60-40 Dallas. As far
I think so.
First of all, I screwed up. I can't call them Dallas anymore. They're Alice. Because the D was nowhere to be found.
Oh,
I like it. Alice.
Yeah, I came up with that one as the field goal went through. Because I'm sitting there thinking with 8 minutes to go left in the fourth, if we can hold them to 3, we'll get a shot to at least tie it or win the thing.
Yeah.
And sure enough, hey, I told you Rico Dowdle was not going to run for 200, and he didn't. He ran for 183.
Wow.
Okay.
Nailed it, Dale.
So, nailed it. Yep, exactly. Nailed my shot. Okay. I didn't say crap about all-purpose yards. Thank the Lord for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because without Dowdle, I mean, we would have been all right.
But Dale, why did Dallas not get the run game going whatsoever? And then on the flip side, Dowdle ran for way too much. And those guys, Diesel and I talked about it. I said it in the first segment. Those receivers for Carolina yesterday, man, they were wide freaking open. That Dallas defense it's the worst defense I've ever seen.
The first touchdown McMillan had was a blown coverage. The second one he had was an excellent route.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give him credit for that. Now, as far as the run game, I thought Javonte Williams and the running game has been fool's gold this whole time.
Oh.
I think we've just been lucky with the production we've had. Okay? The passing game, Pickens balled out yesterday.
Yeah, he did.
But he is one person. He needs Batman back in the worst way possible. At that point in time, I'm not worried so much about the defense because I think we're going to be taking the Bengals approach and we're going to try to outscore everybody. As long as everybody's healthy, I don't think there's a team that could touch us. Our problem is we're not healthy. And the offense ain't at 100%, which is going to expose the defense more because if we're not on the field with time of possession, the defense is exposed. Case in point, you saw it happen. An 8-minute drive, 15 plays, and we never saw the ball again in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, it was bad. Dale, thanks for the call, man.
Hey, I want Eberflus gone.
Not as bad as I do.
I don't want Chicago's trash.
Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Dale.
I'm with him. Eberflus has got to go.
My overreaction today, Cole, is it's time for Dak Prescott to request a trade.
Get
the heck out.
Oh my God.
Dude, if you're Dak, and I understand you're making a ton of money, guess what? Somebody else will pay you a ton of money too. If you're Dak, knowing Jerry Jones' ability and proclivities when it comes to signings and paying people what they deserve, do you think that Jerry Jones has it in him to get both a well-balanced offense and a well-balanced defense at the same time?
Well,
because if to do that, he's going to have to hamper the offense to be able to afford a better defense.
Well, the thing about it for me is, Diesel, I'm not even asking for the number one defense. Right now, they have the 32nd worst defense in the National Football League. I'm not asking for gold. I'm not asking for number one. Can I just have 20? Can I have the 19th best defense, Diesel? Is that too much to ask? Can I have the 18th best defense?
Right. You don't need the best defense when you got that kind of an offense.
God, that defense, God, I'm not kidding, man. I think it's the worst defense ever to play football.
Oh my gosh,
it's the worst. I think any 7-on-7 Pee-wee organization, I think Dewey could score on Dallas's defense.
Speaking of Dewey's on the line. How about that, Dewey? Do you think you could score on Dallas's defense?
Yeah, if anyone can, because Dallas defense sucks. That team sucks too, and you should be ashamed of yourself for being a fan of that team, Cole.
Sometimes I feel like you're right.
I am right. But anyways, this weekend of football sucks. It sucked because Burns lost, Furman lost, Clemson won, Alabama and all them other SEC wannabes won, and Carolina Gamecocks, they're hideous. Only thing good I'm going to say about them is their defense either improved or LSU sucks. One or the other. And the Norris Sellers, it's time for him to sit down somewhere. I don't know what's going on with him, but he's not living up to the hype. That's pretty obvious. And yeah, that guy who got fired, Shane Beamer should be ashamed of himself because he's a family man and he's not the problem. The problem is that idiot coordinator, offensive guy, Mike Schuler, who doesn't know how to do anything. Run, so let North Cells get pounded over and over again. How are you going to win a football game? Your quarterback gets sacked 600,000 times and his head gets scrambled into the ground. It's hideous. Now Shane Beamer needs to get rid of this guy, or Shane Beamer needs to go. It's just a travesty. Oh.
Ooh. Oh, I was going to ask him a follow-up question. If the offensive line plays better under a new coordinator or offensive line coach in Sean Elliott next week, would he apologize to Shane Beamer on these airwaves?
He got in and out. I will apologize to him because I just don't know. I don't know that they made the right firing. Offensive line was horrible. We all know that. But nonetheless, we'll see. Overreaction Monday continues. 844-326-3663. Want to hear from you. I don't think it's an overreaction going back to Dale, though, about Matt Eberflus being fired. I had that down there as well. Then I looked at it and said,
not even going to give him a full season.
That's no, that's not an overreaction. That guy sucks. Get him out of Dallas. That's mine. I have a few more as well, but we go back to the phone lines to Somerville. Tom in Somerville wants to overreact. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. Cole, your statement about the Cowboys' defense being the worst defense of all time is false. It might be the second worst, but the worst defense of all time, look it up, 2012 Kansas Jayhawks, worst defense of all time. But you know, going back to what Dewey said there for a second, you know, Lonnie Teasley, he had to be fired. There's no way to around that. You know, yes, he can recruit, but the offensive line has gotten worse as the year's gone on. And, you know, I started thinking about this. And a couple of years ago, a lot of people were unhappy with Clayton White. And then last year, everything got fixed on the defense. You know, maybe what Shane should do is let Clayton White work with the offensive line because it can't get worse. He's proven he can develop and coach them up on that side of the ball. maybe just give Clayton White the keys to the offensive line room because it cannot get worse. And Dewey, it does not matter who is quarterback. You could have Michael Vick, you could have Tom Brady, you could have Peyton Manning. It does not matter who the quarterback is. An elite chef has to have good ingredients to make a good product.
So
right
Tom,
now,
Tom, do you not have what? Thank God. Do you not have any faith in Sean Elliott, a guy that South Carolina, some said at the time, should have gotten far more consideration to be the head coach?
That would have been the worst decision in South Carolina history, giving him the head coaching job.
Well, I agree.
And, he might be a good offensive line coach. Like I said, it can't get worse, but it's a Band-Aid. You have to go out and you have to spend money on your staff. If you ain't going to spend money on the staff, then find a head coach who will spend the money on the staff. And if Shane ain't it, then he can get the heck out of Columbia. He can go back to Blacksburg. Because I'm sick and tired of seeing him on the sideline complaining, yelling at the refs when he's the one that's supposed to be responsible. He's the one that's supposed to get it fixed, and it ain't getting fixed, Shane. Your seat's getting warm, buddy. Your seat is getting warm. And if you want to go somewhere else, then you can get on the first plane out of Columbia. I'll pay for your ticket.
Goodness.
What, Tom? But look, I'm with you. I understand the offensive line's been atrocious, but you watched Saturday night. What does Lonnie Teasley have to do with that play calling?
Absolutely nothing. It's
awful.
Issue.
It's awful.
He's just the fall guy. I mean, he was the one that had to get cut.
But why isn't Shula getting fired?
Well, I thought about that, and the thing is,
there's nobody else on staff to call plays.
Exactly, that's part of it. But from a person like Shula who's actually calling the plays, whether they're good plays or bad plays, you got to stick with them through the rest of the year.
No, you don't.
Now, if you get to 5, if you get to 7 losses and you don't get to a bowl game, then you can tell him to not show up to work. But I don't really like firing coordinators when you're still trying to get to a bowl game. But I don't think Shula needs to be back next year. He's too old. He needs to retire. Go live on an island somewhere. But calling football plays is not his expertise.
Yeah, I'm with you. It was rough. It's just you had so many opportunities Saturday.
What I don't understand is you give the ball to Matthew Fuller and he runs 1,000 yards.
Then you never give it back to him.
And you don't give it back to him.
Stupid. That's Lonnie Teasley's fault, though.
No, that ain't Teasley's fault.
They fired Teasley. I thought that was his fault.
But when your offensive line's the one giving up sack after sack after sack, somebody's got to get canned. And sorry, Mr. Teasley, it's you. But Shula might be next. Who knows?
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. Man, I thought Shane Beamer was going to punt another water cooler across the field because that point of that game where they were going to go for it, was it a fake punt? I think it was going to hit. It was going to hit, and then the referees blew it dead, and Shane about came across the field at the referees. I snapped that picture of my TV at the time, and that is peak Shane Beamer is pissed off face right there. That's amazing, Shane Beamer. I love it.
Kicked something I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
I was frustrated and kicked something that
I don't blame him.
Maybe he needs to find some joy.
Yeah. I'd have been livid too.
Yeah.
Overreaction Monday continues. 844-326-3663. Tolos, how about pick up the phone? We want to hear from you. Again, 844-FANFONE.
Where's Crazy Ralph? Crazy Ralph always calls in when the Gamecocks suck.
That's
and
a
he
good
loves
question.
to dig that needle or dig that hole and say, I told you so. I told you Beamer was a joke. Where you at, Crazy Ralph?
And by the way, Seattle, opening freaking inning, top of the first, Rodriguez hit a 3-run home run, and I don't know why I took the Blue Jays today, but I did, and you can hear in the sound of my voice. I'm
still
not happy.
A lot of baseball to be
I
played.
know, but good grief. I mean, 3-0 in the top of the first. I said, surely Toronto won't lose 2 in a row, right? Surely not with this guy on the mound, but here they are.
Toronto's getting Toronto up.
I know they are. Madcraft wants to weigh in next on Overreaction Monday at 844-326-3663. What is your overreaction, Madcraft?
Yeah, first off, to Tom, I hate that he's feeling that way. I can't relate at all to that, so I'll just move on.
Yeah, you
But anyway,
can. Your team hadn't been relevant in 80 years.
Oh no, my team's dominating football right now, but
For the first time.
Anyway,
For the first time since the Reagan
How
administration.
old is Michael Irvin now?
I got a question.
Okay.
In what world do we live in where Franklin loses his job at Penn State, but Billy Napier and Mike Norvell still have jobs?
God.
They win the big games.
World?
Billy Napier wins big games. He just beat Texas.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Did he or did he not?
You and I both know.
Did he?
You and I both know. Hey, you and I both know that Florida has not held a candle to Penn State's program since James Franklin has been there.
Maybe they should hire James Franklin.
Maybe they should.
What is James Franklin? What is
have employed Billy Napier?
What do they have to show for it though, Madcraft?
Well, I mean, they don't have championships. Sure, no, but like I just asked you, would you be willing to deny to me that Penn State hasn't been overly dominant as opposed to a program like Florida?
In their conference, they have been, but again, they're in the Big Ten.
Apples and oranges.
Well, okay. Look, I'll tell you what, and I'll finish out with this. This is my fun stat for the day. I'm glad that you mentioned that conference thing. This is my fun stat for the day. All right, a team that is 0-3 in ACC play wiped the floor with a team that is 3-0 in SEC play.
Sure.
What does that tell you?
Tells me that it's a week-to-week league, just like the NFL is. There's a lot of parity, and I think it's become more of a week-to-week league than it used to be.
Hey, Madcraft, I want you to tell me something. I'm going to ask you a question, okay? I want you to tell me why your team allowed Florida State to nearly come back on you. This comes from Dewey.
Yes. So it's very simple. Actually, it was a clock management system. The game was never in question. The game was never coming down to a point. Florida State at 0 point time in that game had an opportunity to win. So I'm just going to clear the floor with that. That's outrageous. We also played very conservatively. All right. We stopped. We did take our foot off the gas. And I think that that's not the Miami way. The Miami way would typically be to beat down anybody that we enter a football field with.
Let me ask you a real question here. That's a facetious question. Real question. In the state of Florida, who is the next head coach to be fired? Is it Billy Napier? Is it Mike Norvell? Or is it Mike McDaniel?
It would be between Billy Napier and Mike McDaniel. I think Norvell is still going to be fine, but his seat has got to be getting warm for me.
And didn't we have some kind of over-under bet this weekend for injuries on turf or something? Or was that
We did, and you hit the under. There were 3.
Gotcha.
But
You're just making stuff up.
No, there were 3 injuries for that game at MetLife. One of them was a pulled hamstring. And the other one, he tore his knee apart. They both got ruled out of the game past those injuries.
All because of the turf.
It was the under. It was under 5.
Do you have any? Do you have any stats? Because I sent this to Cole on Sunday morning. Do you have any stats about game-ending injuries at Tottenham Hotspur? Because they have a very special turf field that they only use for NFL games at Tottenham Hotspur. It's actually a really cool video how they move the American football field out of the way and make room for the soccer pitch. Do you have anything on injuries at Tottenham Hotspur?
I do not.
Well,
that would be
your homework.
That's your homework, Madcraft. There you go. Appreciate you, man. Also, I did see this from Jeff R. on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, and we got an email about it. Branch from the Lions suspended last night after that debacle. That was horrendous, the way that game ended last night. And after the Lions couldn't move the ball and looked like they had a Paul Stiesel, the way that fight kind of broke out after the handshake was really bad. And I think Brian Branch, I believe it is, should have gotten. I mean, I would say at least one game. That was really, really bad. And it was a kind of a boring game last night. The Lions looked meh. Chiefs looked good, but I'm glad to see that he got one game. Leprechaun Lyman Diesel says Mario Cristobal has a serious issue with taking his foot off the gas. Yeah,
maybe so. A bunch of times last year.
Maybe so. Let's read this text. Tom says on all caps, Gamecocks ain't won big games for an over 100 years. James Franklin would be a great Gamecock. Love, Tom. Well, imagine that, Diesel. Imagine that.
It shocks me that all these great coaches that they've struggled where they've been, or they won early and then kind of couldn't keep it going. I'm surprised they're not flooding their way to the ACC, where apparently the getting seems pretty good, and you could get yourself into the college football playoff fairly easily. But they're not doing that yet, Cole. They want that big money. Yeah. They want that. They want to be in the big leagues.
I did think Dave Portnoy brought up a good point yesterday on Twitter. He was talking about that James Franklin buyout, and he asked the question of, like, what other profession do we allow people to set these ridiculous amounts of buyouts that a coach can just walk in and say, well, yeah, I'll take the job, but I got a $60 million buyout. I mean,
yeah, it's crazy. And it's slowly gone up. A couple of years ago, buyouts were like $3, $4, $5 million. You can get rid of somebody for $5 million. Now it's $50 million.
Pocket change.
It's crazy.
It is unbelievable.
But as fans have gotten twitchier and twitchier and demanding of wins, I think I'd want to take it too. You want me to move my entire family up there? You want me to put down roots? You want me to embrace this community? You're going to have to pay me to get rid of me.
Yeah, I don't mind it, especially if you're James Franklin. Like we said a minute ago, that guy, you can't feel bad at all for that guy
Maybe now. He could take over for Clark Lee when he gets a better job. He can go back to Vanderbilt.
That'd be a demotion, wouldn't
it? Well, I don't know, but then again, he wouldn't have Diego Pavia. Sure. When we come back, Cole, let's do our whip around of sports audio, an audio blitz. You hear directly from the horses' mouths next. Shout out to Tolo Kevin Buggs, who's watching from the Monday night game in Atlanta. Go Bills, he says.
What's up, Kevin?
He is there. Does that mean, what are you in the parking lot right now, Kevin? Or are you, have they opened the gates? Have they allowed you to start making your way in?
It's a 7:15, 7:30 game, I believe.
I think so.
That's
Let
what
me
we said.
check the kickoff on that.
There's
game.
2 games tonight. I think that's 7.
That's a 7:15. So
Ah.
5:30. So now we're inside that 2-hour window.
Yeah, it should be gates
Are
open.
you already in?
That'll be a
Cool.
big crowd tonight. By the way, Buffalo is in Atlanta tonight. And then, so let me get this right. Carolina's going to New York for the Jets next week. And then Buffalo making the trip right back down, Diesel, the next weekend here in Charlotte. Buffalo coming to Charlotte in
How about that?
2 Sundays. That'll be big.
Kevin says he's already in the arena. That's awesome, man. I love that arena.
Well, tell everybody else in there to turn it on and leave it on. Get
That's
everybody in there watching. Let's
Poke
go.
the guy
man.
next to you and say, hey, have you heard of Wire to Wire
Yeah.
with Diesel and Cole Bryson?
Who are those idiots?
Keith Moore says, I'd take James Franklin in North Carolina, buy Bill out. He only moved there for his lady. She could call the plays as well as BB
does.
And
She
Bill
could call him
Belichick
as well
does.
as he does.
I never liked him, but accepted him as new coach. Even bought a shirt saying Chapel Bill. Now I wish I hadn't.
Sorry about that, Keith.
Well,
a lot of false hope, I guess.
Now the bill is what you're going to have to pay to get rid of Bill Belichick.
My buddy texted me, by the way, and said, nice Panthers colored shirt that you're wearing on the stream today. I did not mean to do that.
That's not really Panthers blue, is
It might look like it on the stream. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's got a little purple in it, but I didn't mean. I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have
Cole,
worn blue
let's see what the horse's mouth, the players, the coaches, everybody had to say in a good old-fashioned audio blitz. We played this one earlier in the show, Cole. I just wanted to rub it in. Again, here's the game winner in Carolina yesterday as the Panthers, the awful, dreadful, terrible Panthers, took down your elite Dallas Cowboys.
It's the best decision of his coaching career so far here in Carolina. Fitzgerald for the win. It is good. The Panthers upset the Cowboys for one of Dave Canales' biggest wins as the headman for the Panthers.
Now, I know you are a Cowboys fan, but you cover the Panthers, so that's got to be a little mixed feelings there.
No, there's not. I
just-
could care less
okay.
about those stupid Panthers. You know what? I was on a radio station in Dallas Thursday night talking about it, and I felt weird then. It felt like I was 30 or something, talking about the
Cheating
Panthers.
on
But
your team.
yeah, it does feel like it. I'll say this, though. Greg Olson on that broadcast yesterday, Diesel, we all think Greg Olson does a fantastic job on TV. I didn't realize how tall that dude is. Good God. He walked into the elevator. We were standing in line waiting to get on. Diesel, he must be 8 foot tall.
Sounds like you got a crush on him.
No, he's just a huge person. He's a huge human being. I don't know, is he 6'8", 6'7", something like that? But he's a big one. That's for sure. I think he does just as good a job on Fox as Tom Brady does, by the way.
Here's some audio of Bryce Young connecting with Tet McMillan on his first ever NFL touchdown, his first of 2 in this game, as he had a lot of family in the building as well. So congratulations to Tet. Here's what that sounded like.
Empty set, 5 in the pattern. Young floats it, end zone. McMillan, his first NFL touchdown.
First of many, we hope, for Tet McMillan. Congratulations to him. After the game, here is Dave Canales on the Carolina Panthers now being a 500 ball club.
The way that we talk to each other and the type of effort that we ask for in our practices, it leads to good results. And there's got to be a trust in this process that it will lead to good things. If you just show up and give us everything you have in this building, walk in these doors, it leads to improvement. That's what we're looking for, progress. We're looking for improvement in all areas, and we're seeing that. We're seeing groups work together to be able to come away with a full team win. There was really amazing, and it allows me to just double down on the fact that this process works. We stay together and continue to just bravely and courageously look at the mistakes that we've made and correct them. This is a group that's just continuing to get better.
And that was David Newton of ESPN grunting his way
I'm surprised
through
he
that
was still in
audio.
there. Let me ask you this question. Let's do this tomorrow. That last piece of audio inspired something in my head, and I'm putting it on the rundown for tomorrow right now. But
was it the bravely and courageously part?
The announcers in the last piece said the biggest win, maybe the biggest win for Dave Canales let's go back and look tomorrow at every win Dave Canales has and rank his wins. I understand what the announcer's saying. It's against the Cowboys, but ultimately this is the 32nd worst defense in the NFL. It is, guys, it is the worst defense in the National Football League. So tomorrow, I'm putting it on the rundown. We will go back and I know there aren't many and not taking shots, but let's rank Dave Canales' wins. Was that yesterday his best win? I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, let's go to Dave Canales talking about Rico Dowdle and the insane game that he had. He had 30 carries, and I don't have it up here directly in front of me. I think it was like 188 yards.
Yeah, something like that.
On the ground. No touchdowns on the ground, but he did get one through the air. Here's Dave on Rico's big day.
Just looked like the same guy last week. Ran with violence, had a plan, a man on a mission, wants to make yards, and really just take our schemes and make them come alive. And he'd be up here. First thing he would say is give credit to the offensive line and tight ends for blocking, the wide receivers involved in all that to create another successful day on the ground. But I'm sure he's human. I'm sure there's emotions coming from his former team and all that. So I will acknowledge that part of it. But I didn't see a difference.
So big day for Rico, and it's worth mentioning, Cole. And you don't want to have your quarterback in a position where he has to do this a lot, but now Bryce Young has 8 game-winning fourth quarter drives to score points and win the ball game.
Yeah.
I know that he doesn't have a tremendous amount of wins under his belt, but that just, I think it says a lot about Bryce Young's lack of quit and his desire to continue to play hard and play well late in ball games.
I also like what Dave said there. I thought he described Rico really well yesterday. Rico Dowdle ran hard. Like he ran mad. You know what I mean? He just ran with purpose. And I know this is a big picture question, Diesel, but here's what Dave Canales has to start thinking about when Chuba Hubbard comes back. I read off that stat on Friday about his lack of explosive runs. How do you move Chuba Hubbard back to RB1? I know a lot of fans may say, well, they'll just let him split carries. No, it's very simple. You ride the hot hand. That's football.
Right.
Look at that crowd, by the way, in Toronto. It's 3-2 Seattle leading in game 2. Huge. I mean, they're on their feet in the freaking second inning. That's going to be a fun game to watch. I will say, I think Chuba Hubbard can earn his way back in, but like Rico Dowdle, Diesel, you just have to go with the hot hand right now.
You and I both joked, don't these people have jobs? These people in
my God,
Toronto that
they're all rich, I guess,
who are there at a ball game at 5:30 in the afternoon. I also noticed, Cole, did you clock that I think it was the pitcher had a green patch on his arm? That is sellable ad space that can change every inning. So it's not even a static patch for the whole game. That's crazy.
I love it.
Where we're putting these patches. Let's see. Texter says, Diesel, you got any more salt to rub in Cole's wound?
No.
Well, Rico Dowdle can do that. Here's what Rico had to say after the game.
They weren't buckled up.
They wasn't buckled up.
Thanks, Rico. Thanks, buddy.
Didn't he used to be on your team?
He did. And he said after the game multiple times, Diesel, that it's all in fun. And like the Cowboys, like there's no animosity. He that's just the guy. That's who he is.
Right. Here's some audio, Cole, of the Broncos defense sacking Justin Fields for the 9th time in yesterday's ball game to get the win. Justin Fields was on his back for the majority of that game.
Fields avoids the sack until he can't. Jonathan Cooper, the first in.
There you go.
That was, let me tell you this.
Rich Eisen on the call.
It was Rich. Real quick before we run the break, that was the most painful football game to watch in the history of football game. There were negative 11 passing yards, Diesel, by the New York Jets. I mean, that they should never allow those two teams to be on tele. Imagine those fans across the pond. That was their first NFL game, I'm sure, for a lot of them.
I will say, at least we ship the worst games to them and give them nothing, so that you try to build a fan base that way. Texter says, it's from Percy. Today is Thanksgiving in Canada, so they're all off work today.
Is it really?
How about that?
No way, are you pulling our leg or are you being serious?
Did anybody get Columbus Day off today? I figured it.
The banks are closed.
Odyssey does a great job of giving us a lot of holidays, but they didn't give us Columbus Day. I got one more for you here, Cole. This is Kurt Signetti, the Indiana head coach after that big road win against Oregon. Here he is talking about bouncing back after losing a couple of big games last year, and he deserves every bit of flowers that were thrown his way.
After last year, 0-2 versus ranked teams, what did you identify as far as what was needed heading into this season to get over that hump and allow you to win today on the road? First time versus a top 5 team, 0-46 coming into this ballgame.
Wow.
Well, I mean, we lost to number 1 and number 2 on the road, right?
Yep.
And, for a quarter and a half, the Ohio State game, we were up, but, they took it to us. And Notre Dame did too. And, we didn't win at any position in either of those 2 games. And, you just try to recruit the best guys you can, right? And but our guys had a sour taste in their mouth after Notre Dame. I certainly did. We have a lot of returning guys. Our success opened doors on better recruits. And then we got guys like Coogan, who's a great leader, Mendoza, and there's others, Hemby, and this team, has come a long way because, you really don't know about your team. And every week you learn a lot about them.
Well, we found out a lot.
That's true. You don't know about your team in this era of college football with so much changeover. It certainly does help, though, when you can pick off the opposing quarterback twice.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying, man. Earlier, I think I said it. It's becoming more like the NFL in the sense of it becoming a week-to-week league. It really is, man. You just never know what's going to happen. And you also never know what's going to happen in high school football. Week 0 in the books. Friday night, you heard Burns Gaffney right here on the Fan Upstate. My biggest surprises, takeaways from week 7, I'll share those. And we also will decide on a player of the week next. Well, Diesel, if you and I say something incorrectly, Dewey will make sure we know it.
Yeah, immediately.
That's what he's good for, right? He's good for something. I said high school football week 0. I meant week 7. High school football week 0 was 7 weeks ago.
7 is more than 0, right?
It is more than 0. So I messed up there, Dewey. I deeply apologize, and never let me make a mistake like that again. By the way, Seattle leads Toronto 3-2, bottom of the second. Diesel, a really big crowd, and I know the Braves aren't playing, but I have been locked in. I've been locked in this postseason.
As of this moment, you got a runner on
What's your
third
name?
for Toronto. Toronto has 2 outs.
What's your name?
Bottom of the second, 3-2 score. So if they can find a way to put this run across the plate, they tie the ball game back up, going at least into the third.
Biggest takeaways from week 7 high school football, not week 0. Let's start with Gaffney Burns, 28-16 game you heard right here on the Fan Upstate Diesel. Burns, the lesson that they have learned this season that they have not been able to figure out how to get over is that you and I know, we talk about it all the time at all levels. When you're playing in conference and region, you can't turn the football over, right? Burns turned it over 3 times and lost to Dorman, a really good team. Burns turned it over 3 times and lost to Gaffney on Friday night. 3 turnovers cost Burns. It was 28-16, a good game by Gaffney. But ultimately, if you're a Burns fan or a coach, and I know there's a lot of conversation, a lot of upset fans on Twitter over the weekend, you tip your hat to Gaffney. But in those type of games, Diesel, you know how tight those region games are. You go in there and turn the ball over 3 times like Burns did, not only against Dorman, but again last Friday night against Gaffney. You just can't win those big games when you turn the ball over.
So you know this team better than I do. Is it a youth issue? Is it just, young guys making these kinds of mistakes?
Unfortunately, no. It's just for whatever reason, they're fumbling the football. And you know what the crazy thing is? I was telling somebody, it's not that they're forced turnovers either. I mean, you're talking about a connection between the running back and quarterback, Diesel, the ball falling out. It happened with the quarterback against Dorman. He just lost the football. A bad snap Friday night over the punter's head into the end zone. It's just misfortune, man, and it just happens. You can't turn the ball over in big games. Now, I will say my biggest surprise, I believe, was Spartanburg, 33-30 over Dorman. Diesel. That makes 5 wins in a row for the Spartanburg Vikings over the Dorman Cavaliers. They have really owned that series recently.
Maybe instead of Dorman we're going to call him Dorman who?
That's what I'm saying. Spartanburg's got the bragging rights. That's a city rivalry. So here, check this out. In that game, Diesel, 33-30, here's how it ended. Spartanburg kicker Will Love, brother of John Love, who's the kicker at Virginia Tech. Currently, Will's the kicker at Spartanburg. He's also committed to Virginia Tech as well. Game winner at the high school level. Friday night, Spartanburg defeats Dorman 33-30. Will Love, game winner, 53-yard field goal.
Wow.
At the high school level.
Wow. And I don't know what the weather was on site. I know it's been windy this past weekend.
Windy. It was windy.
He was
Friday.
able to kick a 53-yarder in the wind.
It was windy.
I know that Virginia Tech's calling, and you got some family love, but man, you could probably be making some money somewhere else.
Oh man, I mean, just a huge kick for Will Love. So congratulations to them. I also my biggest takeaway was, man, Powdersville's Christ Church. If you went to that game, I didn't know. You and I have had a couple of Christ Church players on Diesel with the exceptional amount of D1 athletes they have at Christ Church. A couple of really good players. But Powdersville Christ Church, 31-28 Friday night. Powdersville takes down Christ Church. Another last-second kind of game where Powdersville wins in late fashion. Here's another crazy stat for you. Powdersville High School has been around in existence for 15 years. Robert Muster has been the coach for 15 years. He's the only coach ever at Powdersville.
Okay.
Friday night, walk-off field goal at Powdersville over Christ Church. The first ever walk-off field goal in Powdersville football history on Friday night. In 15 years, think about that.
Wow.
They've never had a walk-off field goal at their place. And for the first time in 15 years, Powdersville walks it off at home over Christ Church. That stat right there is mind-boggling. 15 years of football, and you never had a walk-off field goal until Friday night. So shout out to those guys for that. Christchurch, though, even with a loss, still a really good team, man. Christchurch is a lot of fun. I was shocked to see Blacksburg beat Landrum 14-6. Congratulations to Josh Batchelor and those guys for a huge win over a solid Landrum team. Landrum's no pushover. They've won a few games this year, and for Blacksburg and Josh Batchelor to do that, I know Coach Batchelor listens to this show, has been listening to for a long time, and always hops in the stream when he can. So congratulations to him for the big win. Also, I'll tell you what, man, my biggest takeaway, or one of my biggest takeaways, is Greer and Will Young. Will Young's got this football team rolling in a really good spot. Will Young's been there for a long, long time, and they play a tremendously tough out-of-conference, out-of-region schedule. Greer defeats Blue Ridge on Friday 61-21. And I think we see, Diesel, at the high school level, when you do play really tough non-region schedules like Greer does, like a lot of these other teams do in the upstate, more times than not, it pays off for you. And Greer, it looks like, I mean, you're talking about they played Burns, they played Belton Honeypath. Now it looks like that's starting to pay off, because while you have some losses early in the season, you've played the best of the best, and Greer's rolling right now.
Well, it helps. It puts you in tough situations, and it makes you mentally tough to know that you're sometimes punching above your weight class quite a bit. And, that's kind of one of the beautiful things about the way the high school playoffs around here are put together. What really matters the most is your region play, and you can go and play outside of your region a couple of times and get that invaluable experience playing against players that are better than you, and you can learn from it.
Also want to
have it not cost you.
Correct. I want to shout out a few players for big performances on Friday. For the Wren Hurricanes, Monte Brown, 34 carries, 241 yards and 3 touchdowns. Whew. Carson Bryant, 5 receptions for 137 yards and a touchdown. 2 kickoff returns for 102 yards and a touchdown. Wow. One of them was for 81 yards. Shout out to him. Also want to shout out Mauden's Lucas Hagdorn. 16 total tackles on Friday, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 interception, 2 pass breakups. Also, Redrick Langston of Malden, 11 of 18, 211 yards, 3 touchdowns, 10 carries, 161 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He had a big night. And one more for you here. How about Jackson Free of Hillcrest? He was on the Saturday Scramble this past Saturday, Diesel. All he did as a sophomore was 15 of 17, which is 2 incomplete passes, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns to 4 different receivers. That QBR, 15 of 17 for 300 plus. I would imagine, Diesel, that would be a pretty good QBR Friday.
Yeah, I would think so, man. That's going to make it tough to choose a player of the week.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I've got to choose here soon.
Put all their names in a hat and draw one out.
That's what I'm saying. All the coaches send me all those players every week. And it's okay, here we go. I'll decide. But, man, a lot of good performances on Friday.
Zach Breeze says 14.5-point win this weekend.
Wow.
Woo! And the upset picks. Tolos, I think we're going to have those numbers for you tomorrow. Dan B, he's flying halfway across the planet this weekend, so we might give him a little extra time.
Good excuse, Diesel.
Autopilot does its thing, right? Can't he sit there while the plane's flying somewhere over the Atlantic?
Oh, also, by the way, tomorrow, I did get email confirmation a few minutes ago. Speaking of James Franklin and Penn State, Jay Paterno, who we've had on the show, good friend of the show, son of, we all know, Joe Paterno will join the show tomorrow to talk about James Franklin.
Always a great guest, man. Always a good time having Jay on. When we come back, Cole, let's talk about that very thing you just alluded to. All of the open jobs currently available in college football. We'll rank them. As far as I can tell, there's 6 head coaching jobs that are open. We'll rank them 1 through 6. And then, hey, of the jobs that we think might be next, where would we slot them in when those become available? Conversation about that next. I was joking with Mad Kraft earlier on the show when he called in. Who would be the next head football coach fired? Especially if they came from the state of Florida, because I feel like there's a good chance it's coming from the state of Florida. Whether it's Billy Napier, whether it's Mike Norvell, or whether it's Mike McDaniel, I think the next big firing is coming from Florida. But
yeah, could. I'm thinking through this. Three coaches in Florida: Billy Napier, Mike Norvell, and who was the third?
Third was crossing the lines into the NFL and going Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, but you know what, man? That guy, that's a tough question. Did we answer that question?
We didn't answer that. He said he thought it was going to be Mike McDaniel.
Oh, God, that's a good question. Of the three, Mike McDaniel, man, that dude's leash has got to be short right now, doesn't it? Like, they're horrible.
He's horrible behind the podium. The team is horrible.
He's lost all life.
We didn't play this audio during the audio blitz.
Oh, that's a good question.
There's audio of Tua being asked, like, what's going on when it comes to, the team, the player-led meetings. And he said that, well, you know what, let's just hear from Tua real quick.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with the leadership in helping articulate that for the guys. And then what we're expecting out of the guys, right? We're expecting this. Are we getting that? Are we not getting that? We have guys showing up to player-only meetings late, guys not showing up to player-only meetings. Like, there's a lot that goes into that. Do we have to make this mandatory? Do we not have to make this mandatory? So it's a lot of things of that nature that we got to get cleaned up, and it starts with the little things like that.
Man, if players feel like they don't have to show up to player-led meetings, that's not a good piece of audio. And he said it starts with leadership. To me, leadership's the coach, isn't it? Yeah.
Isn't the coach the leader? The buck stops with him.
GM, coach, quarterback. Those are your three leaders right there.
Yeah.
3 different levels. Those are your leaders.
That's such a good question. I'm going to answer it. You asking, if you just tuned in, Tolos, Diesel asked, which of the 3 Florida coaches which will get fired first?
I think Norvell's still got a smidge of a rope.
I do too.
I mean, I think Billy Napier is just one blowout loss away from getting fired.
You do this. I'm going to pull up the Dolphins schedule. You pull up the Gators schedule. Do we see one of them get fired mid-season? I mean, so what would have to happen? The Miami Dolphins right now, Diesel, in 2025, we know that they've been horrendous. They lost to the Colts, lost to the Patriots. My screen just went blank. They lost to the Bills, so that's 0-3. And then they have one win on the season, right? They have one win over the Jets. Yep. So they're 1-3. They lost to the Panthers, 1-4. Chargers 1-5. So they're 1-5. All right, here you go. After 1-5, this Sunday they're at Cleveland. Which, do you have any faith? That's a toss-up, right?
It's a toss-up, but they're on the road.
I know, and Cleveland's like, they've got good defensive players.
Yeah.
By the way, the line on that game right now on the road is Cleveland Diesel -2.5. So then they play Atlanta, Baltimore, Buffalo, Washington, New Orleans, New York, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Tampa Bay, New England again. I could see them beating the Jets again. That's 1. I could see him beating the Browns. I could see him beating the Bengals, and that's it. So 3 more wins. So I think they go 4 and whatever. So 4. Let me ask that question to you to answer your question. At 4 wins, if Mike McDaniel finishes with 4 wins, isn't he gone?
Got to.
Yeah.
At that point, there's no institutional spark plug.
No.
In any way.
I think the only question then is if he goes on to only have 4 wins, do they wait till the end of the season, or is it mid-season? Is it Christmas?
I know that who was it in the NFL that just got fired today?
The Tennessee Titans coach today.
Titans coach.
Yeah.
And that's the only, as far as I know, right? That's the only head coach in the NFL that's been fired so far this year.
Yeah, Brian Callahan.
So Miami, obviously, to me, it'd be a much more attractive job. You're in Miami, beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
As opposed to being in Tennessee with no tradition, but you do have Cam Ward, number 1 overall pick recently. You know how special of a player he could be. You want to be in Nashville? You want to be in Miami?
Diesel, I could see. Let me ask you this question real quick. I know we're going down this rabbit hole. Do you believe Billy Napier gets fired in the offseason?
In the offseason? Yeah, I do.
So then the question becomes who pulls the trigger first, the Dolphins or the Florida Gators, right?
The Gators at the moment are 2-4. They're 1-2 in the SEC. This week they got homecoming against. By the way, they're coming off a 34-17 road loss to Texas A&M.
Yeah,
they're playing the 4-2 Mississippi State Bulldogs. Not a pushover game. I mean, could we see it happen? What if Florida gets spanked 17 points plus at home by Mississippi State? A team that they are improved.
Easily might get fired that night.
Right. They are improved. Yeah. However, people would say, well, they don't have the reputational capital that you can just lose to them and it's okay.
No, they don't.
Because then
in homecoming,
you're going into a bye week.
Oh, they'll definitely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Going into the bye week?
Yeah, I think so. Don't you?
Because after that, you're playing in Jacksonville against the Georgia Bulldogs, and you're going to get blown out by Georgia.
Yeah, that's a loss.
Then you're on the road at Kentucky. Should win that game.
Yeah.
At Ole Miss,
loss.
Home versus Tennessee,
loss.
And then Florida State. I mean, if they don't fire him after this Mississippi State game, if they lose,
he'll make it to the end of the season.
He'll make it to the end of the season, and then maybe his coaching tenure at the University of Florida depends on what happens against Florida State.
Yeah, you know what? I think for both Napier and McDaniel, it's just now a matter of when, not if.
Right.
I don't see either one of them.
To me, it's how you lose. I mean, if you were to lose on a late field goal against Mississippi State, maybe you hang on to it for just a little bit longer.
But you're going into a bye week.
You're going into a bye week and then facing Georgia. And so if you lose small to Mississippi State, but then you get blown out by Georgia coming out of a bye,
I think
how do you keep them on?
I think if you lose to Mississippi State, there's going to be real conversations happening on Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, real conversations happening. I hate it for Billy Napier.
And at
I like
this
the
point,
guy, but
bringing it back to what we plan on talking about here in this segment.
Yeah.
If you lose your job at some point, like now you're kind of in that shuffle down in that pecking order of the most attractive jobs that are available. Here's how I would rank them, and I want to hear yours as well. Of the current 6 available head coaching jobs in college football, I've got most attractive Penn State, UCLA 2, Oklahoma State 3, Arkansas 4, Virginia Tech 5, Oregon State 6, and because it just happened today, UAB at 7.
Where's Clemson on this list? you forget the no.
That was not fired yet.
I'm just
not fired yet.
I'm just saying if I can get a mad Clemson fan.
Penn State, UCLA, Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State is a more attractive job because they got a great fan base, great stadium. It's easier to rebuild and win in the Big 12 than it is to rebuild at Arkansas. Because for God's sakes, every year you're going to have somebody, you're going to have four or 5 teams better than you putting their boot on your neck. Virginia Tech should be an easy-ish place to rebuild.
So we got 7 total.
7 total.
Poor Trent Dilfer, by the way.
Really?
State,
have you seen the way he's aged?
No.
Since taking that job? Like,
has he lost more hair? Is he still bald?
No, but he's got a lot more lines in his face. Like, think of all the past presidents. They go in looking fairly young and spry, fairly young, not Joe Biden. Fairly young and spry, and then they come out real gray. Think like George W. Bush, Barack Obama. These guys, they went in looking fairly young, and they came out looking haggard. So, but that's how Trent Dilfer looks right now.
That's not good.
He looks haggard.
I would say ranking the available jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Penn State's by far number 1. Now,
great facilities, great fan base.
They're in a good conference.
Good conference.
Yep.
Got a couple national championships in a row in that
conference. Plenty of money up there.
And it feels like the conference, even though Indiana and Illinois have gotten better, it's still fairly top heavy. So you got a bunch of built-in wins. every season?
Well, there's 18 teams in the conference, isn't there? Seriously, 16 teams, I think, in the Big Ten?
Yeah.
So it's a huge conference. You never play it. That's why I hate it, because Ohio State doesn't play Oregon this year because the conference is so big. Penn State's by far number one. I do think like 3 through 6 is interesting. Yeah. I'm trying to find a way to tell you you're wrong on UCLA.
I just say, hey,
it's West.
Still play West Coast. You're still playing in LA. I mean, to me, there's a pretty big drop off.
No, it is.
Would you rather be in Los Angeles trying to bring UCLA back, or would you rather be in Arkansas?
Well, I duck hunt, so I'd rather be in Arkansas. Okay. But a normal person would rather be in LA. I think if the right hey, this guy that's there now, this interim coach, the Blondie, he might get the job. I mean,
UCLA.
Yeah, I mean he's.
Oh, that's Neuheisel's son, isn't
right?
It?
Yes, it is. Yeah. I mean, you never know.
How about that?
Maybe they just give it to him. I think to your point about UCLA, I think the right person could turn that back into a really attractive job.
I mean, Deshaun Foster was a terrible hire from day
horrible.
One. I mean,
I don't know what they were thinking there. Texter says Mike McDaniel to Penn State. That's interesting.
I wouldn't wish Mike McDaniel on the Charlotte 49ers.
No, I wouldn't either. So I'll agree with you on UCLA too. Oklahoma State. Here's where it gets interesting. Oklahoma State or Arkansas. I'll switch 3 and 4. I'll go Arkansas 4, and I'll go Virginia Tech 5, Arkansas 6.
I don't know how much of that T-Boone Pickens money is still floating around at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, and I screwed that up. Let me try again. I would go Penn State 1, UCLA 2, Arkansas 3, Virginia Tech 5, Oklahoma State 6.
You went from 3 to 5.
What am I doing here? Can I count? I'm going to try one more time.
It's
Penn
1,
State 1.
2,
what comes after 3?
3, then 4.
Okay. Thank you. Penn State 1.
Okay.
UCLA 2.
Okay, yeah.
What comes next?
3.
Arkansas 3.
Here's the cliffhanger. Does he know what's next?
4. I'm going to go Virginia Tech at 4.
Okay.
Then what comes after 5? I'm going to go
Use your fingers if you have to.
Oklahoma State, and I will keep Oregon State and UAB. UAB is not an attractive job. I don't know.
No, not. I mean, it's in the American. It's in a decent city, but they got no history.
I'll tell you what. I think that Virginia Tech job's a little bit more attractive than people think. I mean, it with the new modern landscape of NIL and the portal, I think you could win up there. I really do.
You got a 65,000 seat stadium. You got a cool tradition. I think if you can come in with a lot of energy, and that has to be Virginia Tech, one of their highest prerequisites. Energy. You cannot come in there and be sad.
Yeah, you need to. And I like Brent Pry. Like, we talked to him a couple times at ACC kickoff. It just never worked. It just wasn't the right fit.
So if Florida and Florida State moved on from Napier and Norvell respectively, where would you slot them into that ranking?
God, then the numbers are really messed up.
Yeah.
Can we do halves? 4.5?
If you want. That's fine.
Florida State. So Florida goes to 1 for me, right? Right?
Does it?
Right?
Does it?
Yeah, I think so. I think Florida's still a sexy job. I believe it is. Texters, Tolos, do you agree with that? If Florida came open, is Florida more attractive than Penn State? I guess it depends which way you're looking at it. You're talking about just attractiveness to get ahead.
Yeah.
I think it's close.
I mean, overall, you have to consider all things. I mean, both are going to spend a ton of money to get you if you're that kind of coach.
And you both got resources. You know, they're kind of similar jobs if you think about it. I mean, you're not at the top of your conference, but you're not far. And you both have you mentioned a good tradition.
Mm-hmm. But the thing with Florida, and this is why they pay a ton of money, right? They have an extremely testy and trigger-happy fan base.
And you have high expectations, too. Not saying you don't at Penn State, but I'd still say I would say Florida edges Penn State. I'd go Florida 1.
Really?
Yeah. 1A, Penn State 1B. And then Florida State. Ooh. Is Florida State 2 and UCLA's now 3? Or would you put Florida State's an attractive job, Diesel. I mean, it
is. Newly renovated stadium.
Melissa Level went there. I mean, you have that going for you.
Yeah.
Where would you put Florida State?
I'd put Penn State 1.
Okay.
Shockingly, I'd put Florida State at number 2.
Oh, really?
I don't think the expectations are so astronomically high at Florida State compared to Florida. But it's like we're talking about a hair's difference.
Yeah.
A hair's difference. So I don't want to cop out and do the 1A, 1B thing. So to me, it's Penn State 1, Florida State 2, Florida 3, and then I would, keep the rest of my list the same. So UCLA 4, Oklahoma State 5, Arkansas 6.
Darth Chosen on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says FSU and Florida should just switch coaches. Norvell to Florida. Just move from Tallahassee a little bit east, right? Is that where Gainesville is? Gainesville on the east?
Gainesville is on the east
side of Florida?
Yeah. It's in the
move
Panhandle.
East, and that'd be weird, wouldn't it? So, okay, I will go Florida 1, Penn State 2, Florida State 3, UCLA 4, and then just move the list down.
Yeah.
But that's tough because both of those are good jobs, and Penn State's a good job. I just don't know. I'll tell you what, I didn't think I would be as intrigued with this Penn State opening now that James Franklin's gone. I know Matt Rule came out today, Diesel, and said he's focused on Nebraska, right? What every coach is going to say. I just wonder, though,
my agent, on the other hand.
But you know what? That could be fun. That might work. I know a lot of people would probably say no to that, but I don't know. I'm intrigued by that whole Matt Rule and Penn State match.
How much does he want to get back up into the Northeast where he had a lot of success at Temple? I mean, to me, it feels like quality level of job and what you can do. You're still in the same conference, right? So what does it matter?
I think his personality, I think he could really turn that place. I mean, not saying personality wins national championships, but I think if he got the right staff, Diesel,
I would feel so bad for Dan B and Nebraska fans who would have that rug pulled out from underneath them as soon as they start turning that corner.
But you're never going to win at Nebraska. You're not winning national championships.
Why not?
I just don't know if they have the resources. Penn State. There's something to be said about Penn State, man. It's interesting. We'll see. Now the search, but we have to wait, 3 months?
Those corn shuckers don't have any money out there? They can't throw some NIL money around?
No, they're too poor.
Wow.
Too bad. I'm kidding, Dan B. Sorry. Let's hop into the Clemson conversation since we've talked about the Florida teams, Diesel. Clemson, Boston College, our thoughts on that, as well as Clemson, SMU, Grayson Mann, Tiger Net. What does he think? We'll have it next.